I think that the militant trans issue really became familiar to the American people last month when Charlie Kirk was killed. I mean, you guys at breakneck speed found this guy, you identified him, you profiled the type of person that he would be, and that's incredible. Is there more evidence that you guys can offer to people, maybe video from that roof? Do you expect that there will be more to be released?
I think the best thing we can do for Charlie, especially me as FBI director and our team, is to prosecute this case in the courts of law, wherever it is, in Utah, in the state of court of law. And what we're going to do is what we've done, give them every piece of evidence we collect. Our cellular analysis systems are the best in the world, and that's what the FBI does, and that's what we flew in and did. That's how we led the manhunt and got him in 33 short hours. And every single piece of video or forensic evidence or witness interview, we've done dozens and dozens, gone on these platforms, found every single person. All of that material, and I know this is frustrating to the public, and I understand it, but I'm not going to allow the Charlie Kirk prosecution to be dismantled because we want to get over our skis and publicize information. That is the one thing you cannot do. We will make everything public in court. It just takes time.
It's the Homeless Left with Matt Weinglass and co-host Jay Scott. Episode 140. Is this what peace looks like? A real fake news update. And an all-new top censored news of the week. And here's your host, Matt Weinglass.
There we go. Welcome. Welcome, everyone, to the Homeless Left, a non-tribal approach to news. I'm your host, Matt Weinglass, and we have a great show planned for you today. We were off on Tuesday, but this week, it's been pretty wild. It's been pretty wild. So we're going to try and get to as much of the chaos as possible. I know you guys probably been seeing the chaos in your feed. You also probably have noticed that things might look a little different in your feeds, particularly on Twitter, X. We know about the TikTok problem. We know there's people that can't even be on TikTok anymore because their entire brand or, their messaging the entire way has been to challenge the Israel war machine, the U.S. war machine, American imperialism, Western media propaganda. All of that is no longer allowed on TikTok, and it's looking like the shadow banning has just intensified where we get access to most of our available content coming from other independent media, experts and analysts out there, and we kind of go through the Twitter verse looking for how we can connect the dots, and so it's that much harder now. So we're going to have to work even harder to sit through all of the Zionist propaganda and top-down distractions, which it's pretty insane how bad that's getting. And we talk about the shadow banning a lot, about what happens to us. We don't so much talk about how they get amplified. That's the best part about doing their job. They get amplified. They get the $7,000 if you're an influencer on TikTok directly from Netanyahu. But aside from those little bribe monies, they're getting amplified. They're coming up in everyone's feed. We don't follow these people. They just show up in your feed. Good for them. That's great. You really want to make a name for yourself. You really want to get some exposure. Just do propaganda for the war machine. That seems to be the way to go. Maybe we should look into that. If you really want to make a living, a solid income. Of course, you won't be able to sleep at night if you have a conscience, but I guess a lot of these people just don't. They just don't have the conscience. So that's the dilemma we're in. Well, it's not really a dilemma. It's kind of like we're just here and we just have to do what's right. And that's what we're here for. We're here to relearn how to look at the world, use our critical thinking skills, get out of the tribal mindset. That's what this is about. That's what it's always about. So in a week like this, or these several weeks leading up till right now, things have been going faster. Like I said, it feels like just chaos everywhere. So more than ever, we need to use our ability to take a breath, take a step back, and look at each little thing and say, what are they not telling us? What is the thing being hidden here? Look for red flags. Let's get better at looking at red flags. Let's anticipate the attacks before they happen. Let's anticipate the switcheroos. Let's anticipate the bait and switches. Let's anticipate the memory holds. Let's anticipate how we know this stuff works. And the name calling. We know all that. We've been down this, you guys. We've been down this. And you guys have been following us on the Homeless Left this whole last couple of years. We really, really appreciate all your support. You make it possible for us. If you're new to the channel, welcome. You could be on any of our platforms right now. Our main one is Rumble. We do appreciate you if you're showing up on Rumble for the first time. You might be checking us out on YouTube. This is the main channel, Rumble, at the Homeless Left. Our YouTube at the Homeless Left. Don't bother going there. That doesn't exist anymore. They got rid of us. They said our conversations were too dangerous for the community. We have to keep the community safe from conversation. Safe from conversations, because conversations are words are violence. You guys know the drill. And this is left propaganda. This is right propaganda. They use the same verbiage. They just tweak it to fit the base that they're attracting at the time. But it's the same method. It's the same tools. It's the same blueprint. You guys know this. You guys know this. So anyways, we are on YouTube. This is the channel THL Presents. Our second attempt at doing this. It's going pretty well so far. We got monetized somehow. I don't even know how we pulled that off. We've only been doing this one a handful of months, but we do appreciate you guys' engagement on there. So please help us out on both of these platforms. And if you guys throw up some super chats, you guys can do a super chat on YouTube. You guys can do a Rumble rant on Rumble, and you will cut to the front of the line when we engage with you guys later in the show. We're going to be doing some talking back with Leslie. So that'll be fun. We'll get to that later in the show as usual. Let's see what else do we have going on today? We got a lot going on today, guys. We got a lot going on today. Okay, so we are calling today's show, Is This What Peace Looks Like? Is this what everyone's saying the peace deal? It's happened. It's done. Well, we're trying to get it done, or it's a rocky road, but it's happening. Okay, is this what, are we at the goal? Are we ready to celebrate? Well, spoiler alert, we're not ready to celebrate. So we're going to be talking about all the reasons why we're not celebrating today in the show. We got a World War III watch on Venezuela. That's right. New war's coming. Venezuela, that's being pushed hardcore right now. We have a Kaiser strike going on, worker strike, national strike. We're going to get in some of that later as well. And aside from that, yes, Jay Scott will be on with us. We're going to be talking about the momentum we're getting in the third party arena, the We the People's Party. We have Larry Sharpe, who's announced his governor run in New York with the party, We the People. It's pretty exciting stuff. So we'll be talking about that as well. So without further ado, you guys know we love to start the show on Thursdays with top censored news of the week. And we'll certainly be doing top censored news of the week in no time. But first, why don't we go ahead, because we didn't do the Tuesday show. We got to make up for lost time. So let's go ahead and start today off with a real fake news update. Let's go. It's a real fake news update, not brought to you by Pfizer. We're looking today at how the mainstream media has been covering the ceasefire Gaza peace deal this last week or so. And of course, you guys know we don't have to shock you with this information. You already probably could guess they're lying about it. Or even worse, they're just basically blackballing the whole story, or at least the part about what's happening now. Is it over? Are we done? Well, let's start with this. CNN, this is the language they like to use. Watch carefully if you haven't been paying attention. This is the language propaganda. Right before the first part of the 20-part plan went into effect last week, CNN reports hostages are set to be released Monday. That's referring to for Israel. If you are Israeli, you are a hostage, with hundreds of Palestinian prisoners are also due to be freed as Trump departs for the Middle East. So this is the lead-in. This is the whole, oh, exciting. We're finally getting a deal done. One side is being treated as human beings by the media. The other side, well, they're prisoners, even though none of these quote-unquote prisoners have been through any sort of due process. And we're starting to understand how that works here in the States. We understand that now, what taking away due process looks like. So no. We're not talking about prisoners. We're talking about people also being kept hostage. And we know that they have been mostly underage children. That's what we're talking about. But CNN won't bother to mention that part. Let's look at some of the local coverage of the deal going through and just pay attention to how the spin is done, because they're very, very good at it. Here we go.
Of joy tonight as Israeli hostages are reunited with their families after more than 700 days in captivity. And Palestinian prisoners of war welcome home to massive cheering crowds on the West Bank. It is the first step of a 20-part ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. It is a day that President Trump calls a historic dawn for a new Middle East. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. President Trump joined other Middle Eastern leaders in Egypt to sign that peace deal. But as Maribel Gonzalez reports, more work still needs to be done.
Emotional reunions as the final 20 hostages held by Hamas were reunited with their families across Israel. People cheered in Tel Aviv celebrating this milestone moment.
See how they make this such a feel-good moment. All these families celebrating, and they're all living in, you see the conditions they're living in, fairly normal, right? Yet they call this a war. They've been calling it a war or a conflict for 2 years. It's not a war or a conflict. It's one side occupying another. And that's why when you show these happy, fun moments happening with the reuniting on one side, you're not going to see that on the other side at all.
Under a U.S. brokered ceasefire deal, hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and detainees were met with large crowds as they also reunited with their relatives in the West Bank.
So this is important. They're only going to show you West Bank footage, not Gaza, which is now a parking lot. So be very clear. They're confusing you on purpose. If you're just tuning in, oh, let's see what's going on. You get the sense that everyone's fine and people have been those Palestinian protesters must have been overblowing the fact that Gaza has been turned into a parking lot. But they're not going to show you those images on this local coverage.
President Donald Trump declared a dawn of a new Middle East.
This deal, this once-in-a-lifetime deal, nobody's ever seen anything like what's happening today.
On Monday, photos released by the Israeli Prime Minister's office show a freed hostage playing with his children for the first time in 2 years. Families say they never stopped fighting for the release of their loved ones.
So that's how they do the coverage here. And it is supposed to be, again, it's supposed to be done in a confusing way where you don't actually see what's really happening. Look what happens when a CNN reporter tries to subtly give the viewers a little distinction of the differences of the hostages and the context around how they're coming home to their family. Just a subtle little indication. Look what happens to her. Here we go.
And I think for sure, people who start to talk to the hostages who've only just been released will find that it will take a long, long time for them to recover physically, but also mentally. It's been a terrible, terrible 2 years for them, because not only are they there, they're probably being treated better than the average Gazan because they are the pawns and the chips that Hamas had. Now Hamas has given up all its leverage, by the way, by giving them all up. So that is a victory for the Israelis.
And it's subtle, right? You guys heard that. It's a subtle distinction she made, is that one side's being used as chips. The other side is not. You understand, the occupying force doesn't need any bargaining power. They can do whatever the hell they want. That means they can treat their hostages however they want. They don't use it for leverage. So if you are in an Israeli prison, you're not being used for leverage. That's all she's saying. It's a very basic assessment. So what happens to her? Do people like us say, go further? You're just giving us the outer layer. Go further. Talk about the torture. Talk about the rape. Talk about Israelis protesting the right to rape their prisoners. Tell us about that. No, that's not the pushback. Here, the pushback is fire this bitch right now. That's the pushback. And of course, her name is Christiane Amanpour. She had to issue an apology for saying that freed Israeli hostages were treated better. An apology. How insensitive of her, right? How insensitive. How dare she even suggest that if you're an Israeli hostage coming home, that you might have been treated just slightly better because you were being used as a bargaining chip. We're not even talking about the psychopath behavior we know that comes out of Israel prisons and torture chambers. We're not even talking about it. We're just saying that's the way negotiating works on just a simple level. Oh, I'm sorry. Please don't fire me. Please don't fire me. So that's what's going on there. Okay. So what really is happening with Gaza, the part they're not showing you on mainstream? Well, this is an actual scene of what they are coming home to. Like, this is the part that is really the tearjerker, not the happy tears of joy in Tel Aviv. This is the real joy, not joy. This is the real tears of pain. If you watch this scene. This is what they're really coming home to. TRT World is covering it. Good for them. Shout out to TRT World, giving us the real sense of what I suppose the critique right now is, that where are you guys have seen this, where are the Palestinian protesters? Where are they? Have you guys seen this? It's everywhere. I don't even want to give it any credence, right? I'm not even going to put any of it up, but you guys know that there is this annoying sentiment coming right now from Trumpers that are telling us, and again, thank you TRT World for at least giving us the sense of the environment that is actually happening there, where there's not really anything to come home to. But this annoying sentiment that's happening right now, where are the protesters? Why aren't you celebrating? And I say to you, what are we celebrating? There is nothing to celebrate. There's a deal that is apparently on step 1 of a 20-point plan, and we can't even get to step 2. Why can't we get to step 2? Because Israel was planning to break this deal the whole time. Are we being pessimists? Are we being nihilists? Are we saying, well, we don't want to celebrate? And this is what they're accusing people of. And they're saying, oh, you don't want to celebrate because now you don't get to get whatever they think. You're not going to get paid by Hamas anymore, or it's gonna look bad if something good happens, which means, and this is the key, which means you didn't care about them in the first place. That is really the most diabolical critique, because that's not honest at all. That you are saying that the people in the street that have sacrificed this whole time, you're saying they don't care about the people in Gaza, when you haven't shown 1 ounce of care the entire time, trying to censor, shame, bully, not to mention miscategorize anti-Semitism to people who have been standing up against genocide for the last 2 years. And the gall you have to insinuate in any way, shape, or form that people aren't celebrating right now because they don't care about the people in Gaza. And that's coming from people who have never cared about people in Gaza. No, we care. And we care because we know what Israel is capable of. Not just what they're capable of, but what they have shown time and time and time again. None of this is surprising. None of this is surprising when we see in the first day, Israel kills 9 Palestinians. Right away. right away, violating the Gaza ceasefire. Right away. That happened. Antiwar.com reports on this on October 14th. Right away. We're not shocked. We knew that was going to happen. We 100% knew that was going to happen. You think that stopped there? Of course it didn't. Of course it didn't. Let's see a body count for the first 4 days. How about that? You guys want to see it? Here's your count. Here's your count. The 10th, the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th. You got 17, 35, 7, and 3. That's 62. And then there was more after that. There's been more after that. This is all violations. This is not being reported on mainstream media at all, which you guys probably understand that. What's is being reported is the opposite. Who's breaking the ceasefire? Not Israel. They're the stand-up side. Who are they? Who do you think they're saying is breaking the ceasefire? Because make no mistake. This ceasefire was always meant to be broken. Always meant to be broken. So here you go. Right on cue. Here is the spin. Said. And there you have it. Israel didn't even wait a week to claim Hamas broke the ceasefire. And this is breaking news here. Israel said Hamas violated their deal by not returning more hostages remains. Gaza's destruction has slowed returns, a Hamas official says. So let me get this straight. So you have 20 prisoners of war. We'll call them prisoners of war since you're so intent on calling this a war for 2 years when it's an illegal occupation for almost 80 years. That's what we're talking about, really. And a genocide for 2 years. So let's say this. If you're Hamas and you release all remaining, this is the chips, right? The chips you had to play with. You have 20 remaining. You release them. And then for some reason you say, oh, we're not going to return the bodies because we want to break the deal. That's not what's happened. That's not what's happened. What has happened is that those bodies are not returnable because they've been completely buried under rubble caused by who? By the IDF. The IDF knew this. That's the point. So you put it in the clause in the deal, the wink, wink secret deal, the little clause in there that says if they can't get these bodies back, which they knew they couldn't because they were already buried with all the other bodies in a mass rubble of crap and horribleness and death and destruction. And how the hell do you think they're going to be able to keep bodies like that? And what's the other smear they're doing? They're saying because the 20 hostages that were returned were all males, that means Hamas killed all the females. That's also a lie. Those females had already been returned previously. You hold on to the males. It's weird to say, but you guys understand the women and children first thing. That's, believe it or not, we're not the only ones that apply that. Believe it or not, it's possible that other places like in Gaza could actually apply that logic too. And that's why you have 20 male prisoners of war remaining, which have been returned. So the deal is officially broken. That's what we're saying. That's what they're saying. And you still got this mismatched notion of how prisoners or hostages, whatever you want to call them, are being treated. And you saw that opening news coverage of the local coverage of the hugging and the kissing and some of the people returned to the West Bank. They showed that, but they're not showing the real torture, I'm going to give you guys just one example, and I guarantee you will not find anything like this show up on mainstream media. But here's an actual tortured victim of Israel returning to Gaza. Look at the expression on his face. It's pretty awful. It's pretty awful. We all died 1,000 times each day. We did not know the day, the time, or the date. We didn't know the taste of food, the taste of water. We'd come in the middle of the night, and they would throw water on us in the cells. He would come and torture us with all kinds of torture. Forget the prison. You get out, and your children, they said your children. Let me back that one up here. Hold on. You get out, and your children are next to you. Relax a bit. I want nothing else for them to release all the hostages. Well, there's thousands of them. There's thousands. 1,800 were freed. Now, that's not the deal. There's still 2,000 remaining, but there were supposed to be another 250. That was in the deal. So Israel's not following any of this. They're not following any of this. And most American citizens and Western citizens don't know the numbers. They don't know how bad it is. And they don't know that there's been these hostages there in Israel this whole way. That's one of the things that led to October 7th, besides the fact that Netanyahu funded Hamas and all the other stuff, Hannibal Directive, all that stuff. Besides all that, what led to October 7th was the fact that you have massive amount of people being held without due process. They're hostages. That's the whole point. So you got to go get some of their people to use as leverage. That's the whole point. So they're not keeping their deal. They're not keeping their deal. They're not keeping their deal. That's it. And so, unfortunately, the man's plea is not going to come to fruition. He's lucky to have gotten out. That is. I didn't think they would do the 1,800. That's great. They didn't do. There was another 250 they were supposed to do. They didn't do that. And they've been killing Palestinians as they get released. That's what's been happening. That's what's been happening. So that's it. You're not going to get anything honest from mainstream media. That's it. So we can continue. And then I will tell you this. Now, what mainstream media is doing is they're ignoring this story altogether. You turn on CNN right now, you're not going to even get any of this. It's all been a cluttered mess, confusing people on purpose. As far as if you ask the average American right now, they're going to tell you, oh, yeah, the deal went through and it sounds like peace in the Middle East, but I think maybe Hamas might have broken something or not done something or and then we move on to the next fabricated story, which in this case would be Venezuela needs to be taken out, right? So that's that's what you're going to see on CNN right now. You're not even going to see this. So this is why we need our social media platforms. We need Twitter. We need to be able to share this, communicate, analyze, investigate, do all that stuff that the mainstream media just refuses to do. And that's your Real Fake News update. Not brought to you by Kaiser. Okay. We're going to get to, before we bring Jay Scott in, I think we got time to do some top censored news. We got some top censored news. Let me set this up real quick. I think we're good to go here. And we got some latecomers coming in. Very cool. Yeah, sometimes it's really hard to get the algorithm going here. And I always feel like you guys don't see the notifications. It's kind of strange. It's kind of strange. Takes a while, but that's why we do 4-hour shows with you guys, and we'll be on for another three and a half, probably 3 and change. That's why we do this, because we know that the algorithm, if we stay on and we fight it for a certain amount of time, you guys will actually eventually this will show up on your feed. I guess that's the theory we're going with. We're going with maybe at some point it will show up. Okay, so let's go ahead. I think we are set up here for top censored news. Okay. Here we go. We're rocking and rolling now. Okay, guys. Welcome up. If you're just joining us, all you've done is you've missed one segment so far. So you can go back and watch that later. But we got a lot more show coming to you right now. And I think we are all set up. Let's go ahead and get to the segment we usually like to start on Thursdays is top censored news of the week. So why don't we go ahead and grab that, and we will. There we go. Let's go. Uncanceled Comedy Collective presents Top censored news of the week. It's top censored news of the week. We're bringing you the stories the mainstream media just refuses to cover. If they do cover them, they always do it in a very dishonest or sloppy way. And it's always on purpose. Coming in at number 3, Alaska just got hit, likely by a direct energy weapon. Uh-oh. I don't know if we're allowed to say that. DEW. Well, you're saying likely. It looks like it. We don't know for sure. But what we do know is that nobody's talking about it at all. Here's a report on TikTok. What's happening in Alaska, if you haven't heard. National disaster unfolding in Alaska isn't on the news. The remnants of a typhoon, Helog, slammed into the coast. This house was one of many that was swept away. Governor Mike Huckabee declared a disaster. 20 people are missing. Did you know that? And this was the scene in the islands off of Japan, which was hit as well by the same typhoon. It's very interesting. It was a Category 4, and it head from Japan into Alaska at 156 miles an hour, which is a record. They've never recorded that ever. So Alaska's increasingly bearing the brunt of this. This was from 2 years ago, so this is a collected footage that this isn't the first time something like this happened. News coverage, other stories. National Guard is sent elsewhere, but Alaska gets hit again in a remote state with indigenous communities now counting the coast is very, at least they deserve, is just a little, they're just asking for a little news coverage and they're not getting it. Here's someone on the ground uploading their commentary on it, which we want to show because people need to know this. Here it is.
Typhoon hit Alaska. It had Category 4 hurricane type winds and destroyed several Alaskan Native villages. People woke up to their homes floating down the river, and nobody's talking about it. Right now, a couple of sources are saying that at least 20 people are unaccounted for, but it could be way more considering not much is being pushed out there about what's happening in Alaska right now. Supposedly help is on the way, but with FEMA being defunded and the National Guard being used to invade cities, rescue efforts are very slim. People are stuck in their homes floating down rivers, going into the Bering Sea. Entire villages wiped out. Please spread the word and let people know what is happening in Alaska, because this is mostly impacting indigenous Alaskans.
Spread the word. And as a lot of people are. And but let's get to the part, also the odd part about this. And this is from Hustle Bitch, has been pretty on point with all of the Charlie Kirk coverage. So let's just look at this. This is seems to me like a very fair analysis. So Hustle Bitch tweets this out. Engineered typhoon strikes Alaska. They don't want us to know about it. So it's called Typhoon Halong, a storm that started in Asia. It slammed Alaska's western coast. He's reporting at 105, but we saw a higher number reported as well. But regardless, we don't see this type of hurricane speed. It doesn't happen at this level. So homes underwater, entire towns cut off, dozens missing. These two villages have lost nearly 3% of the population. National Guard from Alaska is searching for survivors, but outside the state, it's complete silence. Now, here's the part that is even a little more interesting. The typhoon shouldn't survive in Arctic waters, yet this one got stronger. Radar data vanished. The government shut down, and which we know, and the media is quiet. So we're just asking these questions. Is it modified weather? Is it weather warfare? Or is it just another natural disaster, which it could be, that doesn't look natural at all, though? And if that were the case, you should tell us that. You should be like, hey, this is weird. Tell us about the weird red flags if you're doing honest reporting, or tell us that it's happening at all, which they're not doing either. They call it Typhoon Halong, but anyone watching closely knows this wasn't weather. It was precision. So we're going to leave that one like that right there, and keep an eye on this type of thing, which you guys know we do with other weather modification stories or suspicious weather modification stories we like to stay on top of. Okay, so that's Alaska for you. And I recommend you guys do your own research on this as well and look for stuff that they're not telling us on mainstream media. Okay, coming in at number 2, Gavin Newsom reveals Israel and Big Pharma control California legislation. Actually, maybe we should have done it in the different order. Gavin Newsom reveals that Big Pharma and Israel control California legislation. Well, however you present it, both are true. And he's going to tell you about one of them right here. Here we go. Gavin, take it away. When you're asked directly about this, your relationship with AIPAC, let's see how you respond to that on this podcast. Go for it.
The first to bring up AIPAC in years, which is interesting.
I will not vote for a candidate that takes $1 from AIPAC.
It's interesting. I mean, it's interesting. I haven't thought about AIPAC. And it's interesting. You're like the first to bring up AIPAC in years, which is interesting. Why did I say that? Not relevant to my day-to-day life.
Okay.
Which is just interesting.
Listen.
It's interesting you say that. JPAC perhaps more, but AIPAC less and less.
Okay. Fair enough.
Which is just interesting.
What's interesting about it?
That it's just interesting as you bring up AIPAC that it hasn't been part of. I'm just reflecting quite openly and honestly. Hasn't been part of the day to day.
Yeah. The only reason why I ask is because with that, what I'm talking about is lobbying in and of itself.
Very interesting, right? Very interesting. And I had a good conversation with Garland Nixon yesterday about this. You guys should go check out that episode on Garland Nixon's show on his channel on YouTube. But we talk about, and he's been, Garland was a, part of the police, and he understands detective work and how you can look for signs and how you look for little body movements. And it's the things that aren't said that tell you. It tells you what's not being said. What is so interesting, Gavin Newsom, and why all the maneuvering? And we saw the same type of maneuvering he did with the Lahaina fires, and particularly here in LA with the LA fires. A lot of this moving around and snaking around and trying to get out of stuff. But that was certainly a giveaway. Well, let's not leave the story there. Let's do a little. How about we do a little digging? Okay. Well, this is from Phantom Pain. Newsom said that JPAC was not as interesting as AIPAC and repeated interesting like 10 times. So a quick search later, JPAC's a full-blown Death Star with satellites disguised as community orgs. You can't make this up. I wish I'd brought this part to Garland yesterday, because he's actually really big on this, where we look at the umbrella company, and then you look at all the other companies that are formed under the umbrella and all those different techniques to hide whatever you're hiding, money or messaging or alignment with people. Well, here's a breakdown, a pretty good one right here. Here we go. Okay, so we got JPAC on top, and you got all of these other Jewish organizations that are linked under the umbrella of JPAC. And as Newsom told us, it actually is more interesting in this regard to see all of these different companies, fake companies, whatever they are, under this umbrella. They're all backing Newsom. So these are the companies, these are the entities that decide California policy and legislation. Well, Matt, what do you mean they decide? I mean, can you give us any sort of example of this? Well, yeah, actually we can, because this just happened. AF Post reports Governor Newsom has signed legislation making California the first state in the nation to establish a statewide anti-Semitism prevention coordinator to oversee all K-12 public schools. Good. We got to get those kids before they get old enough to become terrorists. We got to get those kids, because once they get out of high school, you know what I'm talking about. They get into college, they show up to those terrorist rallies. You guys know the ones I'm talking about, right? So you got to coordinate them and get that slap that anti-Semitism out from them in K-12. That's where to do it. The measure was driven by the Jewish Public Affairs Committee of California, as Gavin Newsom calls it, the more interesting committee, more interesting than AIPAC, JPAC, a robust lobbying network often described as a state-level counterpart to AIPAC. And that's why that's more interesting to Gavin Newsom, because it's the state level counterpart, the state level arm that he works with directly. And there he is, Mr. Newsom himself, Mr. JPAC himself, Mr. Yamaka himself. That goes right on top of the head. You know where that goes. They all know where it goes. That's that. Okay, so we know that he has admitted this. Well, what else is, just so you guys understand, this is how the governorship works. This is not unique to Gavin Newsom. It's not unique. This is how all governorships work. This is how all elected officials work. They take their influence from these organizations, from AIPAC, from whatever companies outreaching and getting in their pockets, and that's who they work for. So can the same thing happen with pharma? You betcha. You betcha the same thing can happen with pharma. Here's a more recent one that happened a few weeks ago after the $70 billion Pfizer bill went through, or the Pfizer deal went through. This was Gavin Newsom's counter to that, because he has to fight any fight against big pharma, and he's going to tell you what California is doing about it to respond, because we have to trust the science and follow the science, right? Here it is.
Trump's health secretary fired every single member of the CDC's immunization advisory panel, replacing trusted health experts with vaccine skeptics. That move puts your ability to access critical vaccines at risk. In the face of federal leadership that has completely failed us, the West Coast is taking action, grounded in evidence and safety and transparency, issuing new recommendations for our residents, starting with a vaccine schedule for the winter virus season. Vaccines, they save lives, they protect you, your loved ones, and they stop the return of deadly diseases we beat decades ago. And that's why I'm proud to join our West Coast states in standing up for science, health, and trust.
Standing up for science, health, and trust. Well, here it is, the standing up for. Friend of the show, Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, shows us exactly what happened here. You got 14 states comprising of 31% of the U.S. population are ignoring the CDC and making their own rules about vaccines, led by their governors. These states recommend all babies and pregnant women receive a COVID shot, and these are the main states making up the West Coast Health Alliance. It's led by California, Oregon, and Washington, and Hawaii. And these other ones are the counterpart, not the counterpart, but the additional makeup of the Northeast Public Health Collaborative. So this is happening in all places. But California, make no mistake, Gavin Newsom is the leader of the West Coast Health Alliance initiative, getting everybody involved. And here is the map of that alliance on the left side, and then on the right side you have the Northeast Alliance doing the same thing. These governorships are all controlled by pharma and Israel. That's what we know. So here we are in this fake battle here in California of Newsom versus Trump. Like it's this good guy, bad guy, get bad guy, good guy, depending on what side, with blue or red, whatever side you're on. Not understanding that it's all one function. It's all one function. That's what that is. Since we're on the Newsom topic, I thought this would be funny. Newsom tweeted this out because it's a reminder to you that this theater, it's WWE. You guys know the game, WWE. Here's another attempt of Newsom distracting you from the actual policies going on in California, and it's going to tell us what we really need to be upset at or curious about. And it's Trump. That's his archenemy. That's the WrestleMania character that he's fighting. Newsom is a character. Trump is a character. Here's the character he's fighting.
Violence in the streets. Just this year,
This is a shot of Trump looking like he's about to fall asleep. So Newsom is playing the game of look at the incompetence of our president. That's the game we played about Biden, who actually was losing his ability to just stand up straight or walk, or we know what happened with Biden, but this is his attempt to continue the theater on this end. And of course, he tweets this out. Honestly thought this was a still image when I first started watching, and that's Trump's mouth starts drooping, blah, 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 struggles to stay awake. You can get any president doing this, but Biden actually had more than anybody as far as opportunities to share his actual dementia. But yeah, so what? Trump's falling asleep. Funny that Gavin Newsom would call this a still image. He was confused. He thought this was a still image. Obviously, he's making a joke. Well, no joke goes without another joke. like this one from Kevin Dalton. Honestly, thought this was a still image when I first started watching. Nope, just a Tuesday morning in Gavin Newsom's California. And here you go. Yep. This is a normal Tuesday in Hollywood. Not faked, not AI'd, not exaggerated. This is what we see right here in LA. Is this some sort of stage theater performance art? No. This is the effects of fentanyl, which has become an epidemic here in Southern California. It's literally walking zombie. These are still zombies in place. If you guys haven't seen this, look at this right on the side of the screen here. So yeah, this is an FU back to Gavin Newsom, who doesn't take care of his own state. He's more concerned about satisfying the needs of pharma and satisfying the needs of APAC and JPAC. So whether it's interesting or not, that's what he's doing. Okay. Time for the number one story of top censored news of the week. Coming in at number one, Google Trends timestamped a paper trail which proves that Tyler Robinson was a setup. 100% proof? Well, that's debatable. But why don't you guys tell me, and I'll walk you guys through this. Actually, you know who's going to walk you through? I'm going to give you a guy to walk you through. Let's have James Lee. He's been doing incredible work. I'm giving him a shout out. Obviously, he's not the only one doing great work. We know Candace Owens has been doing great work. We know Max Blumenthal has been doing great work on Charlie Kirk. But let's let James Lee tell us about what this means, what this Google Trends paper stamp is all about. It's a timestamp. Let's hear what it's all about. Take it away, James. And before I press play, he also gives a shout out to Baron Coleman, who actually broke this story, and James took it from there. Here we go. It's good to give credit to fellow journalists. We need to do that. So there you go. James Lee and Baron Coleman's work on the Google Trends reveal. Here we go.
Question: when was the first time you heard the name Tyler Robinson or the Losi Center, a Mauser 98? For me, and I assume many of you, it was in the days and weeks after Charlie Kirk's tragic assassination on September 10th. And you better believe I've been doing some Googling since then, right? Who is Tyler? What are the access points to the Losi Center rooftop? What kind of damage can a 30-06 caliber bullet do? But what if I told you somebody, maybe multiple somebodies, were searching those terms before September 10th? What do you think about that?
Before the shooting. Well, there's Washington, D.C. at 11 a.m., the day before the Charlie Kirk shooting. And you'll see here where the news finally broke that it was, in fact, Tyler James Robinson. But notice that. That's weird. That's weird.
That is weird, I gotta say. Why would anybody be searching the name Tyler James Robinson one day before he allegedly assassinated Charlie Kirk?
First of all, James Lee, would you stop it with your conspiracy theory nonsense questions? We don't need to know. Probably a coincidence, right? Get back to work. Stop asking questions. Stop confusing people. But yeah, but if you insist, keep going. Give it a little longer. But yeah, I don't want to use my brain. But okay, what else you got?
The data point is just a tiny blip, but it's there. Tyler James Robinson, right? A name that nobody knew of prior to September 12th, 2 days after the shooting, when the media told us who Tyler James Robinson was, right? A supposed 22-year-old leftist who hated Charlie Kirk. So what does that little Google trend blip mean? Well, I did some research using Google Gemini, and they say Google Trends, what it does is normalize search interest to the region you select. The formula is search interest equals total searches in the region and time divided by total searches for the term. So when you look at things from a nationwide context, the total number of searches is enormous. The small handful of searches for Tyler James Robinson on September 9th is so tiny, a fraction of all the U.S. searches, that it gets rounded down to 0. But then when you zoom in a D.C. context, if you filter for the District of Columbia, the total search volume is much, much smaller. So if a few searches for Tyler James Robinson on September 9th originated in the D.C. area, then this handful of searches becomes a significant enough proportion of all D.C. searches on that day to register a value of 18 out of 100. Then it says, and this part is critical, quote, the fact that the searches are localized to D.C., a city synonymous with the federal government, intelligence, national media, and political organizations, strongly shifts the interpretation away from random noise or perpetrator checking his own name, from an ambiguous anomaly into a strong potential signal of pre-event institutional knowledge or activity. That is interesting. And to be clear, I'm not coming to any conclusions myself just yet, but that is how Google is interpreting its own trends data. But hold up for a second, strap in, buckle up, whatever you need to do, because there is.
Yeah, and he's continuing the work there. And obviously, there's more to look at there. And it's interesting that we have to continue to qualify every time we talk about this issue. Isn't it funny? We have to keep qualifying. We're not saying conclusively 100% Israel this or this, that. We always have to qualify because people get so angry. Oh, you didn't qualify what you thought to be the determination. It's like, well, that's actually not how investigation works. You don't make a determination and work backwards. It's not a reverse engineering situation. That's not what investigation is. So let's be clear on that. You don't say, well, you're saying that. No, we're asking the questions. We're going down this little rabbit hole. Well, there's a follow-up. Since we saw that report, there's a follow-up. And you notice Israel actually wasn't mentioned in that report. But interesting. When you go a little further with Google Trends, you come up with this from Sam Parker. More Charlie Kirk bombshells. Google Trends analysis shows on top of what was reported about Tyler Robinson being Googled, guess what else got Googled? George Zinn, Bu Mason. They were searched from DC IP in July. And Hunter Kozak was searched from Israel IP. Israel IP in early August. That was right before the assassination. Who was interested in these men weeks before? So look, there's the breakdown. You got on the 21st of July, George Zinn. 16th of July, Bu Mason. August 3rd, Hunter Kozak. Let's refresh you guys so you know who these people are if you haven't forgotten. Especially, you guys should remember George Zinn. This is George Zinn. Kind of wild, the old man George Zinn created a perp distraction that allowed the shooter to escape. Yes, that was a distraction. We covered that. And yes, he's Jewish. Now, okay, now that's not appropriate. Don't talk about a guy's background, history, religion, culture. I don't want to know, but that sounds to me a little anti-Semitic. So let's ignore the Jewish part. That's not cool. Okay. I'm not happy about that part. But no, make no mistake, this guy was the setup. Funny that he was being Googled before the event. Very weird. And we got this follow-up last week from Candace, someone who's been doing excellent work. She verified that George Zinn had received the medical treatment after, saying that he shot Charlie. And during the medical treatment, he told the staff he was getting paid to claim he was a shooter, but wasn't sure where the money was coming from. It's always weird when you guys, don't you hate that when you get the pay and it just arrives in your account? You're like, where did this come from? Where did this $100,000 come from? I don't. It's weird. It happens to all of us. I know. It just whatever. Just like you don't know. Oh, did I go to that restaurant and you got that charge on your credit card? I don't remember. I don't remember who paid me $100,000. I'm not. Whatever. Put me on a lie detector. I don't know. I have no idea. Anyways, interesting. He was Googled. What was the next name on that list? Bu Mason, FBI agent. Interesting. He's the guy that told us that the high-powered bolt action rifle was recovered in the area of the Charlie Kirk assassination. The shoe impression, the palm print, blah, blah, blah. Assassin still at large. So he's the guy that set up the manhunt for Tyler Robinson. So it all starts to line up. Who was that last name that was coming up in those Israel IPs? in those addresses. Who was Googling that last name? Hunter Kozak. Oh, yes, that was the man asking the question when Charlie was shot. Isn't that interesting? The guy that was asking the question about violence, gun violence, as Charlie Kirk was getting murdered, was being Googled from an IP address in Israel. That's a fact. That's a fact. There it is. That was from a previous segment. Okay. We'll end top censored news right there, but I want to give you guys one more look at our FBI director who just in the last 24 hours was asked again about how the investigation is going. And if you guys think for a second that the FBI is on our side and working with us to solve crimes, you are living in a delusional world that doesn't exist. This is our FBI director, and this is what he's going to tell you about how the investigation is going. Listen closely.
Patel, there's been so many conspiracy theories swirling around about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Do you have any updates for us, especially in light of all the online content that everyone's been talking about?
The only thing we deal with at the FBI and the Department of Justice is facts. And we delivered at record speed a manhunt to capture Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin in 33 hours.
Isn't it interesting? Record speed. That's That's the gimmick. They're selling to us what we want. Oh, like we're good boy, good doggies. You got your food fast. You got your food fast. We gave it to you fast. Fast food. Don't worry about what's in it. Don't worry about all the shit in your fast food. Good boy, eat your food. Fast. No, that's not what we want. You're telling us that's what we want. We don't want fast. We want accurate. We want nutritious. We don't want shit food fed fast. But no, that's what we did it fast. Record time. Keep going. Tell us all the language that we don't want to hear about. Conspiracy theorists. Do the name calling bit. That's always a fun one.
If you put that in perspective, Luigi Mangione with the Boston bomb where they took them 5 days and a police officer lost their life in their manhunt. We are running on absolutely every single lead, and the best thing we can do to honor my friend Charlie Kirk's life is to make sure that everyone involved is prosecuted to the full extent of the law, and that's what we're focused on, investigating the facts, not trading in conspiracy theories.
Okay.
Conspiracy theories. And make no mistake, we ain't going to see any of those facts. He says very clearly those facts are only going to be seen by a jury in closed doors. You're never going to see those facts. And a proper follow-up question to Cash in that moment would have been, and I would say interrupt the president and say, one more question, sir, while I have your attention. Have you looked at Google Trends? Does that matter to you? The IP addresses of all the people that happen to be involved after that. And then he says, next question. That would, but just to get it on record, have you looked at Google Trends? Well, we've looked at Google Trends because that's what we do here on the Homeless Left, bringing you guys top censored news of the week. Okay, moving on with the show, guys. We got a lot more show for you. Here we go. Okay, we're going to bring in our co-host to help us with the next few stories here because it's a lot. Guys, there's a lot going on. I've told you guys there's a lot going on. Hard to keep up. We got to make up for not doing the Tuesday show. So without further ado, let's bring back to the show. You know him, you love him. Please welcome back to the Homeless Left, Jay Scott.
What's going on, Matt? Happy Thursday. Nearly lost track of the days over here, man. Been getting a little less sleep recently. You know why, but yeah, excited to be here and to talk about these important topics. So, but yeah, newborns, not good for sleep, if you appreciate that. But I'm here and ready to go.
Good. Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear getting through it on the home side, and we have to balance. We have to do a lot of balancing here, and I appreciate all the hard work. And I know you've been doing some hard work with We the People Party. We're going to get to that part in a little later in our next conversation. But first, because of all the Trump, Israel, Gaza peace stuff, and I did want to have a chance to run this back and forth with you. It did come up the Gaza plan, which has been reported in a very dishonest way by the mainstream. Very confusing way on purpose. We covered that in the Real Fake News update opening the show earlier. But the part I think that is also worth getting into is when Trump says the quiet part out loud. I'm trying to understand why a U.S. president can get away with running his mouth like this. And I know this is one of the reasons why some people did actually vote for him way back the first term, was the fact that, this is a guy who isn't going to have a filter sometimes. And sometimes we actually do like hearing him say these quiet parts out loud. You don't get that from Obama. You certainly don't get that from Obama. And the only time you would get that with Biden is if he accidentally started mumbling about something that was from his personal life or some kid he gave a little massage to. But other than that, Trump tells us the effed up policies that he's part of, and he gloats about it. Here's Trump gloating about the relationship with Israel and the weapons that we have to invest in, that he basically is telling us he makes the best of the situation. And this would be the equivalent of a felon on a trial being prosecuted
admitting to the crime
for conspiracy of committing crimes and being aiding and abetting, at the minimum aiding and abetting an armed robbery. And he's telling you, well, I was kind of forced to do it. So he's going to tell us this, and there doesn't seem to be any consequences for this at all.
We have weapons that nobody's ever dreamt of. I only hope we never have to use them. I rebuilt the military. I was proud to do it, but some of the things I hated to do. I hated certain of the weapons because the level of power is so enormous, it's so dangerous, so bad. But we have to do what we have to do. We make the best weapons in the world, and we've got a lot of them. And we've given a lot to Israel, frankly. And
wow. That standing ovation. You think Netanyahu was in the room right now?
Mm-hmm. I mean, Bibi would call me so many times, can you get me this weapon, that weapon, that weapon? Some of them I never heard of, Bibi, and I made them. But we'd get them here, wouldn't we? And they are the best. They are the best. But you used them well. It also takes people that know how to use them. And you obviously used them very well. But so many that Israel became strong and powerful, which ultimately led to peace. That's what led to peace.
Peace when? Wait, I guess peace for Palestinians doesn't count. The only peace that matters is if in that part of the region is if Israelis, I guess, have a short-term sense of safety because other people are scared to attack them. I mean, we just mentioned this on the space. I don't want to derail it too much, but most of our foreign aid in that area either goes to Israel or paying people off from attacking Israel. It's a complete waste of money. And they suck up so much of our budget. You know, if you look at not just the money we give directly to them, but the money we give to countries around them to pay them off. Like Israel and Egypt are the number 1 and number 2 recipients of our foreign aid. And the reason we give all that money to Egypt is so we're paying them off to not attack Israel, because they understand that they are part of Israel's colonial conquest, the Greater Israel Project. Every single time we mention Israel, I personally want to mention the Greater Israel Project, because we need to talk about it. We don't talk about it here, but they talk about it over there. And we need to talk about the same things they're talking about over there to have a balanced perspective. But so yeah, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You wanted to.
It's hard for me to break this down sometimes, because it's like, first of all, we don't, like I said earlier, we don't have the mainstream covering this at all. It seems that the MAGA base, the one that will just relentlessly stay with him and say he's got the 10D chess group, they're brushing this off with no concern. And even the left gets this really wrong, because when I say the left, I mean the Vote Blues, blue MAGAs. They just look at him and they just see Nazi Hitler, and they're not understanding the relationship that's happening here, that he doesn't really have a choice. And I believe he was handpicked for doing this, for having these moments, off the cuff moments, because no one's holding him accountable. We know the media won't. They're looking for other things to smear him and make him look foolish and bad on. They're not going to make him look bad on this. This is the part they protect. He knows this. Everybody knows this. And that's why he can get away with running his mouth, incriminating himself, basically as a president committing treason right in front of us, so there's not enough people talking about the relationship with Israel and to even be curious about what would happen if he didn't do these things.
Did you
every
already-
other president does this. They just don't gloat about it and show off it like he does. That's the only difference. Jay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I should have actually sent you the quote about Miriam Adelson.
Oh,
Did you already play that, or you have it already?
I'm doing that
lined
next.
up? Okay.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I'm not gonna, jump ahead to that part. But, just to comment on the off the cuff part, that you mentioned just now, I do agree that Trump does say the quiet parts out loud. However, that could be good if he was the same level of dangerous, like as Joe Biden. And at first I thought maybe there's not much difference between them. Maybe they would do the same things. But I'll be honest with you, the more I think about it and the more I watch what he's doing, I'm 100% convinced that he's actually more aggressive than Joe Biden. It's just that he has no problem lying to people and telling people what they want to hear. But if you look at his actual actions, even the tomahawks he just provided to Ukraine, he just said that he's going to provide to Ukraine. Joe Biden didn't take it that far. So he's taking everything to the next level. And this quote unquote peace deal that just got signed, like Israel hasn't even signed most of it. Like they agreed to one part, releasing the hostages. They haven't agreed to anything else yet. If you were just someone who follows the headlines and doesn't look into the details, you are now under the impression that Trump has secured peace between the Palestinians and Israel, because that's how the mainstream news reports it. So it's dishonest in how it's being reported. Trump is extremely dishonest. And, if you just follow what he's actually doing, I think the reason we saw a less aggressive Trump in the first term is so people would think that he is somewhat on their side. Because I will happily admit, I do think that Trump's foreign policy, while still not perfect, still bad, during his first term was probably better than Biden's foreign policy when Biden came in and took over. But now Trump's foreign policy this time is far worse than what Biden did. And what he's doing with tariffs and using it as a political weapon is extremely damaging to not just the economy now, but the future prospects of the US dollar. And a lot of this damage is going to be hard to roll back, because other countries around the world are looking at us right now well, is the US still reliable? Is this a country that we can continue to rely on and partner with? And the last thing I'll say on this, Trump may actually deserve a Nobel Peace Prize, not for the peace he's doing, but the peace that he's actually creating and the alliances he's creating around the world, because he's brought BRICS much closer together. There was a risk that there could have been war between India and China at one point. And because of how Trump is acting, he's actually brought India and China together, and he's strengthened BRICS. And if we were able to turn this around and find a way to work with our partners, you could argue that, Trump has actually brought people together. The only issue is he's unifying people against us right now. So, yeah.
So we're going to get to the Miriam Adelson clip, but first I want to give a shout out here. It looks like we've been rated on Rumble by Do Dissidents. Welcome, Do Dissidents audience, to the Homeless Left. If you guys check this out again, or this is your second, third, whatever time, I know you guys have rated us before, so welcome back. And if you're first time joining us, we're the Homeless Left, a non-tribal approach to news, going through all the stories. And then we know Do Dissidents covers these stories as well. We're all we've actually had Keaton on the show before, so we love the work Do Dissidents does. So wanted to give a shout out to them. And we always do it as Jay Scott, and we're having this conversation right now about Trump. We always do it in a very non-tribal way, and that's how we have to get our tribal goggles off and start using our critical thinking skills once again. That's what we're doing here. So welcome. Let's go ahead and get to the Miriam Adelson part, because this, I think, Jay, I've said the word treason earlier. This should qualify for some sort of legal problem.
So, really quick, right before you play it, I want people to think about, quote unquote, what people have said anti-Semitism is. They say anti-Semitism is accusing Jews of being more loyal to Israel than whatever country it is they live in. So keep that in mind as you listen to what Trump is about to say.
All right, here we go.
Promises from many other American presidents, you know that. They kept promising. I never understood it until I got there. There was a lot of pressure put on these presidents. It was put on me too, but I didn't yield to the pressure. But every president for decades said, we're going to do it. The difference is I kept my promise and officially recognized the capital of Israel and moved the American embassy to Jerusalem.
You know, I'll say you were right about more aggressive than Biden. You were right about that, Jay. And just in that one regard, and you mentioned Ukraine earlier, there isn't more of an aggressive approach of, I'm going to double down. I'm just going to go all in. And it might be this, if I really show them I'm their man, maybe then later I can do something heroic. I don't know. I'm not saying that's I'm saying. If there's any sort of like reasoning to it, why do you have to be so aggressive? Why? Well, he's going to keep explaining about how this relationship works. So, because this is a businessman, he's going to tell you how business works. That's it. It's all business, everyone. It's just business. No moral compass, no right and wrong, just business. And businesses don't have, by the way, guys, businesses don't have consciousness. They don't have a moral compass. I know we think businesses have, corporations have, no, they don't. It's all business. It's all money.
They have a fiduciary duty to maximize profit. They don't have a fiduciary duty to their customers and society. They are legally obliged to do everything they can to maximize profit for the shareholders. That's their only obligation as a corporation.
And Trump, I don't think anyone will argue this point. Trump has the very unique ability to articulate these horrible things in such a slick way that if you aren't paying attention, you might think this is something to applaud. Well, in this room, the room is definitely applauding him. But if you're watching this on your screens, you might actually, this sounds good. No, it's not good at all. But he's very good at making you think it is. Here we go. Tell us how business works. How does selling out to a country like Israel, which is not even a legit nation, tell us how this works, Trump. We want to know.
Isn't that right, Miriam?
There we go.
Look at Miriam. She's back there. Stand up, Miriam. Stand up.
She's shy. She doesn't want to. Come on. You're embarrassing your number one fan there, Trump. Come on. Don't put her on the spot like that.
Miriam and Sheldon would come into the office. They'd call me. He'd call me. I think they had more trips to the White House than anybody else I can think of. Look at her sitting there so innocently. She's got $60 billion in the bank, $60 billion. And I think she's saying no more. And she loves Israel, but she loves it. And they would come in, and her husband was a very aggressive man, but I loved him. He was a very aggressive, very supportive of me. And he'd call up, can I come over and see you? I say, Sheldon, I'm the president of the United States. It doesn't work that way. He'd come in.
He's telling us right there, I'm not in charge. This is we have this debate all the time on the show, right? I talked with Garland. We certainly talked with Craig Pasta about who's wagon, who's dog, and he's telling us. I'm the president. That's not how it works. Oh, I guess it does now. I guess it works the way you want it to work. But yes, continue telling us about this relationship.
But they were very responsible for so much, including getting me thinking about Golan Heights, which is probably one of the greatest things to ever happen to Israel. Miriam, stand up, please. She really is. I mean, she loves this country.
And if you're confused about what country she loves, Trump's going to make sure you're not confused anymore. He's about to tell you exactly what he meant, in case anybody thought he was talking about the United States. Here we go.
She loves this country. Her and her husband are so incredible. We miss him so dearly. But I actually asked her, I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked her once, I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel? She refused to answer. That might mean Israel. I must say.
There it is.
We love you. Thank
And
you,
you
Nellie,
know-
for being here. That's a great honor.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like I still personally lean towards the idea that Israel is a proxy of the people who run America, but that doesn't actually go against Trump having to bow down to their interests, because if the interests of the proxy are fully aligned with the interests of the entities controlling the proxy, then it's going to look like the proxy is actually in charge. But anyway, that's another debate. However, to look at his actual comments, like on what he said just now, if anyone else was to say that just in another, like in another situation, like they were saying, hey, maybe we should consider the impact of Zionist donors on our political process, because some of them may care more about Israel than the future of this country. If you were to say it in that context, oh no, that's anti-Semitic. But Trump is allowed to say it because he's speaking in Israel, and apparently he's saying it like it's a good thing. So if you say it like it's a good thing, yeah, some Jews love Israel more than America, even though they're quote unquote Americans that live over here. If you say it in a positive way, you can get away with it. But if you use it as a potential criticism, it's anti-Semitic. So I mean, can we just have a honest conversation without throwing labels at each other and trying to say you're racist or you hate somebody? Why can't we just talk about the actual data and the actual context? Because if we refrain from throwing labels around and we actually just talk about the data and the context, I think it's a lot easier to, come to realistic answers. That's just my opinion, though.
And moving forward, where are we now, Jay? I'm curious if you're not, because we haven't had this discussion since everything's unfolded since the quote unquote peace deal goes down. We see the spin from the media of that Hamas is the one that broke the deal. We know that Israel intended to do it the whole time. And they're ready to go in and kill. And that was the whole point. When Bibi was here, I hate calling him that. When Satan Yahoo was here for the fourth time since Trump took office, and they shook their hands on this, the smirking and the giggling and the laughing was about the little loophole they put in there, because the whole point was they couldn't wait to annihilate the rest of Gaza, which is going to happen. That's what's happening. That was always the plan. And for all you a-holes out there that are ragging on and bullying the protesters for not having parties right now, you're out of your effing mind if you don't understand that there's nothing to celebrate. Jay, what is happening next? Is there any chance that this thing gets to any more of these 20 points? Because it sounds like we only made it to barely the first half of point one, and now it's done. It seems to me like this is done. Do you get any sense that anything else is going on here as far as trying to move this forward, or is this thing over with?
So right before I answer this question, I just want to add the context that I myself am half Ashkenazi, so I'm not saying anything about, like people like being naturally bad. However, what I do want to make sure that people understand the situation in Israel. Right now, we have, in my opinion, a population that has been not completely, but largely radicalized to think that Palestinians and other people around them all want them dead, and that it's okay to treat them like quote unquote Amalek. Like, I saw a survey, I wish I had it prepared for this segment, but they did a recent poll asking Israelis, do you think the Palestinians should be treated exactly like Amalek? And for those who don't know what that is, that was a part in the Old Testament or the Torah when Jews completely annihilated another group of people that they were against, quote unquote Amalek. And that means they killed every single man, woman, and child. So we have a situation in Israel where about 60% of the entire population believes it's okay to kill every single Palestinian woman, man, and child over there. So if Netanyahu goes, the problem is not solved. Like, however, with Netanyahu, it's actually even worse because the moment he's not in power, he's actually going to be facing corruption charges more than likely because a lot of his corruption has been uncovered. And, you know, if you look at the historical pattern, Israel has never really abode by ceasefires, you know, especially not in recent years. They're always the ones to break it, and then they blame it on the other side. So if you were to ask me what I think is going to happen between Palestine and Israel, I do expect there to be a brief pause in the fighting, but because of Netanyahu's desperate situation, it does feel like, you know, it's going to pick up. So that being said, because of what's happening in Ukraine right now, I'm still not sure if Israel is going to be insane enough to try to strike Iran this year. I hope maybe, you know, like they may get, you know, delayed on that. But if you look at the escalation happening in Ukraine and what's happening in Venezuela, which we're about to talk about next, there's only so many U.S. missiles. There's only so many resources, so much resources that we have to share, and we're already very short. So unless America is about to unveil some secret weapon that they've kept hidden and, you know, like we haven't heard about, that's going to change all the game. We simply don't have the arms to handle all three of these conflicts at once with Iran. But in the short term, because Palestine isn't, you know, allowed to have the rights of an actual country and to organize an actual army, it's really just kind of, you know, organized gangs of resistance fighters. It's not a real army. Israel can continue the fight against the Palestinians, you know, based on what we've already given them. So I'm hoping that maybe the situation won't escalate with Iran in the near term because America has been stretched so thin. However, the overall context of the country is, you know, we have to look at apartheid South Africa, and we have to consider Israel at least as bad as apartheid South Africa, in my opinion. So this isn't to say that the people there, you know, don't deserve to be able to live there, but in my opinion, if there's a situation where Palestinians do not have equal rights on that entire territory, then this conflict is going to keep continuing. I think the only long-term solution for this situation is if Palestinians have equal rights in all of the country that was once Palestine and now is being split up between quote unquote Israel and Palestine. So that doesn't mean that, you know, the Jews who were there, who are peaceful and, you know, like want to get along with their neighbors have to leave. I don't think that means they have to get out. But what I think we need to come to terms with is the fact that a huge segment of that population is completely radicalized. If you have 60% of a population saying we need to kill every man, woman, and child, that's a problem that doesn't go away when you take one leader out of power, who's Netanyahu. So we need to talk about what happens with those guys. Can they be de-radicalized? I hope that they can. And, you know, like, how do we start that? Because right now, the talk in the West is just, well, how radical are the Palestinians? Can they be worked with? This is how our government frames the situation. But the real conversation people should be having is how radicalized are the Israelis? Like, can they be dealt with? And if you go back to the creation and the history of Israel, it wasn't always like this. In fact, when Israel was first created, there was a large segment of Israelis who believed that Palestinians should also have equal rights in that territory. But guess which group wound up getting the most power? We can see the results today. And the turning point of that, in my opinion, was when Rabin was assassinated, who was the prime minister that negotiated the Oslo Accords back in the 90s. And he was actually assassinated by someone who just came from a Netanyahu rally. And then he turned around and assassinated the guy who tried to make peace with the Palestinians. So, you know, they have no problem literally assassinating their own leader if they think he's going against the interest of, you know, an apartheid Israeli state. They have no problem with assassinating him. So if they'll assassinate him, how are any of us, you know, protected? And that's why when I hear people say, oh, it's, you know, a huge jump to say that, you know, Israel assassinated Charlie Kirk. No, it's not. it fits exactly in to who Israel is and who they've shown us they are. So
the fact that we have to waste so much time, the fact that we have to waste so much time talking semantics about who's the most likely suspect in the Charlie Kirk case it's baffling to me that we have to tiptoe around that and just say, look, we don't have 100% proof, but who's the most likely suspect? Look at the history, look at the assassinations, look at the philosophy, look at the Hannibal Directive, look at every possible scenario in which Israel makes a determination that of course they'll take out their own, of course, for the greater good, right? They're the masterminds of for the greater good. We took it on from them. We apply it to anytime it's time. We're all in this together, Jay. We're all in this together.
And really quick, and sorry, really quick.
Elections. Yeah, go ahead.
And let's not forget, Germany was once fully Nazified. Like, for the most part, the people in Germany all felt that the Nazi ideology was the right ideology. And then the country became denazified because there was an intentional effort to de-radicalize people over there and actually show them like what happened. And now, like, the overwhelming majority of Germans you're going to meet are perfectly kind, hardworking, nice people who appreciate everybody. So this is not me saying that Israelis all deserve to be like executed. This is me saying that there's a problem there. And the problem does not end if we get rid of Netanyahu. And unfortunately, the path that they're on right now is simply take more, take more, take more. And Trump is going to give them everything they want while pretending to make peace through the process.
You know what? I'm starting to be suspicious of this part of because we talk about we get trained with the bad apple and like philosophy, like, everybody here does that with Trump. Oh, Trump's the uniquely bad apple. Get rid of him. Everything back to normal. Bullshit. I mean, such a one-dimensional look. And we apply to Netanyahu too, right? We say, hey, let's not call him the unique devil, the unique Satan, right? Satan Yahoo. There's the entire thing is corrupt. The entire thing is captured, like you said. This is something that goes well beyond Netanyahu. I'm starting to be suspicious, Jay, that the protesting that we've seen, the protesting we know about Netanyahu before October 7th, I'm starting to think that was in the opposite direction. I'm starting to think that they felt that he wasn't pushing hard enough, and that's why they want him out.
They were different.
It's the opposite. You hear this, like we do here, right? We hear, get Trump out. We've never seen anything like this. Well, we have. We just haven't seen anyone as loud about it as he's been. But so with Israel, it seems like it's completely backwards. They protest in Israel for the right to rape their hostages. They protest for the right to rape. So I question the protesting of Netanyahu. They think he's wasting his time. He's slowing things down, coming over. Why do you have to keep making trips to DC and lying about what we're doing? We prefer a leader who tells us exactly what they're doing. Maybe he's slowing it down. That's my suspicion. But you can tell, no matter who you are, if you're Trump, Netanyahu, anybody in power, nobody gives up power on their own. It has to be taken from them. And so I thought this was funny. He's still doing this BS. This is his avoiding of his trials. Justin Netanyahu has been, I kid you not, this is not the Babylon Bee. This is real. Netanyahu has just been diagnosed with a non-threatening bronchitis, prompting his personal physician to recommend rest and the cancellation of his corruption trial testimony in Tel Aviv court. Health comes first, right, Netanyahu? Safety first. It's always safety first. I did hear a joke. I didn't find it, but I saw a joke about this. They said he implemented a what was it? It was a God, I forgot okay, there's a meme out there. I'm gonna find it. Maybe I'll find it, put up later in the show. But there you go. This is people trying to hold on to power. But like Jay, I agree with you. It's not really gonna matter if they oust him or when they oust him. Israel's gonna continue as long as we continue to fund it.
Yeah, and that point you brought up about them protesting in favor of rape, that is a real story. Now, this isn't to say that the majority of people in Israel think like that, but there's clearly enough people in Israel to pressure the Israeli government to release their IDF soldiers that were convicted of raping Palestinian prisoners. So that means they felt that even though the way the case was decided was accurate, that they shouldn't be in trouble because rape should be a weapon of war, because that's how you disincentivize Palestinians, from resisting them. So, like, I personally can't imagine even the most right-wing Republicans and the most right-wing conservatives in this country arguing that we need to rape prisoners, like rape illegal immigrants, like to convince them not to come to the country. So we have to understand there's a religious extremist element, behind like this line of thinking that has radicalized these people in the exact way that we think of folks like ISIS. So again, like, I just can't imagine that being a protest in America that gained that much traction. And that was the result of the case. They released the IDF prisoners that were guilty of rape because the protest, were that strong. So do with that information what you will. But as we're talking about who's radicalized and who can we work with, I mean, we have to talk about these surveys that come from Israel. And again, you've done a great job, pulling up these clips of how they talk in Israel. They advocate in Israel till some people advocate to lie for the Israeli government, to lie to the American people, to trick us into going along with them. So, like, who does that? Like, I don't know, man. But they're putting it online and they're saying it in Hebrew because I guess they don't realize that Google Translate can now give us this information in real time. Or maybe they think we're too lazy and the mainstream media won't allow it to come out. But I mean, it's coming out and they're saying it and they're doing it and we're seeing it.
They're not evolving with the technology. And we see that we talk about this in Hollywood all the time. Like, you go back to stuff where you're like, they didn't realize that in the future we could freeze frame on a digital shot of someone and zoom in and see that their makeup was smudged on their face wrong. They didn't know we could freeze frame stuff and be like, wait a minute, and do playback, right? So you got to adjust your you got to adjust your technique to fit the current technology. I think that's the lesson that they need to learn. But we love that they don't know that yet. So it's good. This is how we get them, right? We use the technology against them. The technology is used against us most of the time, but I'd say 90% of the time, the technology, AI, surveillance state, all that stuff, the shadow ban, that's all used against us. But 10% of the time we can use it against them. And this is one of the examples.
Yep.
Okay. Jay, I think that does it with the Israel coverage, but I think what you mentioned Venezuela. Are we ready to move on, or did you have anything else to?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go ahead and get to. We haven't done World War III watch in a while. Let's call this one World War III watch. Why not? Might as well. It's another war. We got another war. We can handle another. Throw another ball up at the clown and keep the juggling going. Here we go, guys. Time for World War III watch. Let's do it. It's World War III watch. Let's just face it, it's already started. I'm here with co-host Jay Scott, and we're talking today about Venezuela. It's not going away. It's getting worse. Here's what we know. Yet another, I'm going to do air quotes on this, Jay. Covert attack has occurred from the Trump administration. New York Times put this out. Trump administration authorizes covert CIA action in Venezuela. And what we know about this action is that it was yet another lethal strike, as Trump likes to say, an elimination of, which is a murder. It's an assassination of 6 more people that were not law enforcement. It's basically murder. It is murder. That's what this is. It's illegal. The death count now is up to 27 lives, and this is part of the campaign that we've been covering on the show. The campaign of selling to the American people that President Maduro in Venezuela is the leader of the biggest drug cartel on the planet, and he's illegitimately elected, and we have to take him out. Of course, no mention of the fact that our CIA funds the cartel, and we're responsible for all of the Latin America, drug problem, which helps our agenda with American imperialism. So let's take a look at the actual kill. This is the kill shot right here. and it's been unclassified. And there you go. That's not a reenactment. That is real. That's murder. That's the murder. Our president murdering 6 people, and then telling us what he can say whatever he wants, which is, we got him. We got those drug dealers. Good. Very vigilante of him, and yet his base goes along with this, and a lot of the left goes along with this too, because this has been something that both parties have been pushing for term after term. Doesn't matter who's in charge. We've been trying to take out Maduro, and before him, we've been trying to take out Chavez for decades now. And there's a reason we can't do it, and we'll get into some of that. But right now, Jay, this is amplifying this war propaganda. In this case with Venezuela, obviously it's about the oil. We know it's about the oil, but you have to sell the drug cartel part. You can't sell weapons of mass destruction like you could with Saddam in Iraq. But it's just a different it's a different method, but the same blueprint of selling it, and people seem to be falling for it. And before you chime in here, I think people may not realize this, but we did actually get word on 2 of those people that were murdered, what you guys just watched with your own eyes, 6 people murdered. 2 of them, we found out were these people, and this reported by Venezuelan Analysis. 2 of the 6 men killed in the boat strike were from Trinidad. The relatives of one of them denied any ties to drug trafficking, saying he was only trying to return home. Apart from Venezuelans, Colombians, and now Trinidad's, those are the only ones that have been killed. It doesn't seem like we have any proof of anybody even if we did have proof that they were actual drug traffickers or drug dealers or drug cartel people, you would hope there'd be some sort of legal thing. No, nothing legal. Just kill them. Not even kill and ask questions later. Kill and give statement later. Move on to the next kill. That's what we're talking about here. Here's a report that went out about these 2 people. Here we go.
Believed to be Trinbagonians were killed in the latest U.S. drone strike of Venezuelan waters. And now Alas Cuevas' family is demanding answers.
They say Chad Joseph wasn't a trafficker, just a young man trying to come home. Jensen Levent went to the fishing village to speak with the family.
Like most of the men gathered here at the Las Cuevas fishing depot, Chad Joseph was a fisherman. Both his relatives and residents are denying strenuously that he was involved in drug trafficking. They say his killing was unjust.
When Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar said the United States should kill alleged drug dealers violently, no citizen was listed among the dead. On the U.S.'s 5th airstrike, Trinidadians Chad Joseph and another man identified only as Samaru were among 6 people killed on Tuesday.
So this is obviously, we're not showing you a clip from MSNBC or CNN. We know it's not obviously not Fox News, but I want viewers to understand that if the idea was let's make Trump look like Hitler and sell remember No Kings. By the way, there was another No Kings march, I think, here. I can't keep track of them, all the Walmart heiress funded No Kings march. Just to be clear, if you wanted to package Trump as Hitler and No Kings, Emperor Trump, you'd be reporting on this. There's a reason that we have to go to a Trinidad news station to get the story of 2 people murdered. And the reason you're not seeing Rachel Maddow covering this or Anderson Cooper covering this, if I can't shake people enough that still are in denial about this, Jay, that our mainstream media is designed to be propagandist for our military operations, for Israel, for whatever, whether it's Greater Israel, whether it's the American imperialism, Western imperialism machine, whatever the case may be. That's their job, is to not tell us this, and that's why we have to go hunting to find this information. Go ahead, Jay, your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's just like ridiculous to me that anybody can take Trump's argument seriously, because like we all hear about like where drugs are coming from, and the names that pop up the most as far as countries go, and this isn't to say every one of these countries are guilty, obviously not, but the most powerful like drug cartels, from what most people would say, seem to be in Mexico and Colombia, right? Are these not the 2 countries with the most influential drug cartels historically? Yet we're striking the country that has the largest proven oil reserves in the world and pretending that it's about drugs. I mean, Just because they're Latino and they speak Spanish, it doesn't mean that they sell drugs. I mean, come on, guys. Like, the fact that so much of his base believes actually about drugs, and they think, like, I was in a space the other day actually with some Republicans who support this action, and they made the argument that Colombians wanted to send their drugs through Venezuela to come to America. And on its face, that just seems so ridiculous to me because number one, we don't trade that much with Venezuela. We have a bunch of embargoes on Venezuela. So, and we don't have those embargoes with Colombia. So why would they want to go through a country that we don't trade with, like to traffic drugs to us? So nothing about this makes any sense. And the thought that somehow the best way to bring down a drug empire is to literally go to war with them instead of prosecuting them and finding ways to, ensure that nothing comes through our borders. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, this is not how fighting crime works. Like, police, when they want to break up the mafia, don't go into mafia neighborhoods and start shooting everybody, to take out the mafia. They do investigations, or supposedly. And, yes, they have taken advantage of the system and they actually are in the business of picking winners and losers, but that's because that's their intention. If their intention was to actually bring down these cartels and completely stop the drug flow, then the way to do it would be to prosecute them and to actually bring them to justice and ensure that we find ways to stop the drugs from coming in. But that's not what we've done. In fact, historically, all we've done is pick winners and losers. Like, we as Obama was bragging about making record-breaking drug busts, which is the same thing that Trump is doing right now. We had a non-prosecution agreement signed with the Sinaloa cartel, who were the biggest drug traffickers like at that time. So they're bragging to us about how good they're doing, in the war on drugs while they're working with the biggest drug dealers. And I haven't seen any evidence that Trump is doing anything differently, because if he really wanted to, quote unquote, fight the deep state and stop the drug flow, wouldn't it make sense to explain to people how the deep state is directly involved in the drug trade? But the only time, Matt, I don't know if you noticed this, but the only time Trump ever mentions the deep state is when someone's accusing him of doing something bad. And he pretends the only thing the deep state does bad now is criticize me. There's nothing else we need to worry about with the deep state. So,
the deep state, to me, the term deep state to me is no different than anti-Semitism. It's whatever you want it to be, whenever you want it to be. And it's not when you need it to be. It's just used for your leverage. So he can use it when he needs to. He can prop up the CIA when he needs to, call something else a deep state. Same with pharma. He can battle certain parts of pharma, embrace other parts, party it up with Albert Bourla, Pfizer CEO. So they're just words. What is deep state? It's just an expression, whatever you want it to be. It's not real. What is real is the Greater Israel Project. What is real is Western imperialism. What is real is CIA funding cartels, border crisis. These are things that are real that we have hands in. And if Trump was real, and I hate to break it to all the MAGAs out there, I get it. You wanted something better. I get it. Biden didn't pretend to be fighting anything. And I get it. It was so obviously in our faces, the fascist policies of the Democrats for 4 years, and COVID and Ukraine and in starting the genocide, all this stuff. We saw it. We saw the censorship machine. We understand. We get you. You wanted something better. But what you got was somebody that's just better at presenting it. And if you're falling for Venezuela right now, and you also, if you're still holding on, and I got the article, I'm going to bring it up right now, Jay, because we have a little more to talk about. This is World War III watch for a reason, because I get it. We voted for Trump. We, as in us, the country, voted for Trump to try and stop the annihilation of the human species. That was one of the big reasons, which they didn't tell us on mainstream, and the left doesn't get this part, but that's why, to stop our own annihilation. I hate to burst your bubble, but we're not any better off right now, even with the Ukraine situation. And what you just sent me, Jay, I'm going to bring this up right now. This should be a huge wake-up call, regardless of what you think about communism's ruining the world or not, because that's another thing they like to sell to the right, which is not. We're living in the thing that's actually ruining the world. We are living in the thing. So start questioning the thing we're living in, not some other boogeyman. Regardless, this just happened today. This is here we go. Yes, Russia just cut a deal with Cuba and Venezuela to challenge the U.S. in the West. So wait a minute. I thought Trump was on the phone with Putin right now. I thought we were this close to a Ukraine deal. Well, how are you going to maneuver around the fact? And let's look at this. So this is the breakdown, and this is from Breitbart. So Russia's rubber stamp legislator passed an intergovernmental agreement on military cooperation with the communist government of Cuba on Tuesday, formalizing an already existing alliance, providing cannon fodder for the invasion of Ukraine. Venezuela I love the verbiage here, and I'm being facetious. Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro also announced on Tuesday that he had solidified a strategic partnership with Russia that could allow Moscow greater ability to leverage influence in the Western Hemisphere, challenging the U.S. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but doesn't this make things a little harder to sell that we're this close to coming to the end of the Ukraine war when Trump has done nothing as far as he has done anything as far as allowing Putin to get his terms on the table, and he's not forcing Zelensky or anything. He's not doing anything. He's basically backed off and is doing Biden policy, Biden 2.0 policy. Mm-hmm. How is the base? How is the MAGA base going to respond to this news? How can you spin this? I don't understand it.
You know, it's really tricky with Venezuela and Cuba when you're talking about the MAGA base and conservatives, because a lot of them truly believe that communism is the great evil, like in the world. And, you know, they will see Venezuela and Cuba as representations of this that need to be dealt with. So I've heard plenty of them argue that, oh, the right way to use our military is to destroy Venezuela and Cuba because they have political systems that we don't like. Like, I have heard them make that argument. But, you know, aside from that, what I want people to know is, number one, okay, I'm not going to discount the possibility that America has some crazy high-tech weapons that, you know, we have not exposed to the public yet. However, what the Oreshnik missile, which is one of, you know, Russia's most advanced, missile systems, has been doing so far in the Ukrainian war is proving that Russia has hypersonic missiles that we cannot shoot down. So unless America is holding on to some technology that they don't want to give to Ukraine, like, we are now in a situation where, and I saw, you know, a few articles about this months back, and it seems to have died down, but I've already heard, you know, like Putin say he's considering providing Oreshnik missiles to Venezuela so Venezuela can defend itself. So we're now in a situation where Venezuela may be given weapons that we cannot shoot down to defend itself, you know, against us. So I don't want America to get hit with hypersonic missiles. I really don't want that. But the way to prevent that is not by destroying Venezuela. The way to prevent that is to respecting the sovereignty of other countries to make their own decisions and to deal with their own problems. And we can support them in nonviolent ways to make changes that we think, you know, will be beneficial for the people there and advance human rights. But this idea that we're going to bomb communism like out of Venezuela and bomb socialism like out of these two countries doesn't make any sense. No. And all it does is put us at risk. And, you know, at the same time, we have done everything to quote unquote poke the bear, like with Russia. We have armed Ukraine to the teeth. They could not be shooting these missiles without our help. And now Russia is saying, hey guys, you know, if you keep going down this path, we do have a response. Like, we can respond, and we can respond in your hemisphere, because it is possible that part of the reason Americans are so disconnected, like, from what's happening over there is because we're really not, like, under threat from an outside attack. And the truth is, Venezuela could never defeat America, even if Russia gives them these missiles. But what they could do is strike America and kill a whole lot of people. So, you know, like, we have to ask ourselves, why is it that we all are willing? Well, anyway, I don't know, man. It's sad seeing how the right is against war. You know, supposedly a lot of people on the right are against war, but they think it's justifiable, you know, to use against a foreign country if they think that foreign country has policies that we don't like. And that's the reasoning I hear from people on the right who support the actions in Venezuela. And lastly, if you care about illegal immigration and you think that's an issue that we need to be concerned about, going to war with Venezuela, which is a huge country, is going to cause a lot of illegal immigrants to flee there and go to other places. So you cannot, like, you know, purposely spill the milk and then cry about the spilt milk. And it seems like that's what our foreign policy is doing right now.
That's it. This is the part that I think we need to start rewiring some of the people that, you know, look, some are so far gone. They're going to think, you know, Trump's up to, you know, 100 deep chess by the time they're ready to get any sort of critique going his way. But it's time that we rewire ourselves the way we've been tricked into these two camps. And like you said about the communism part, which is really that's a frustrating part for me, just on an ethical level. When we look at how do we analyze the thing we're in, do we blame it on something that we're not in? I start with that. I say let's look at the thing we're in and let's look at the functionality. And here we are. We have the quote unquote peace president who really wanted that peace prize. Didn't get it. Do you know who did get it, Jay? And this part's important. Maybe we can win over a few. Maybe we can win over a few. MAG is on the fence right now about, is Trump really the peace president or he's a war president? It's looking like a war president. And they should actually be happy he didn't get the prize, because we know they only give it to warmongers. So it's almost like he got second runner-up, or he got second place of the warmonger of the year. That's what it seems to me happened here. But here's the warmonger of the year, Nobel Peace Prize winner. Her name is Maria Corina Machado. And as we know, she's actually working with the U.S. government right now to push the Venezuela war machine efforts, to do the capitalist thing, which we do, which is American exceptionalism. Capitalism is about stealing whatever you can and profiting off of it, because once you have it in your hand, it's yours, and then make some money, and then it was worth it, and whatever lives need. So that's what this is about. And what she's talking about, she's admitting, and this is from Angelica Venezuela News, she's the Nobel, I like it, the Nobel of War, Maria Corina Machado admits that there will be dangerous actions against people she doesn't like, specifically Venezuela. I know it's a tough, delicate topic to address. It implies that there will be some actions towards some of the perhaps are not the ones we like the most, i.e. brown people, communists, drug dealers, terrorists, unelected, illegitimate presidents, that whole thing. So that's what's being sold. You want to hear her talking to one of the Trump people? Here we go. This is she's telling us the plan. This is where, if you're a capitalist to death, you're like, oh, that sounds really good.
Saudi Arabia. Forget about the Saudis. I mean, we have more oil. Saudis.
That's Donald Trump Jr. And he's not going to push back at all, because this is his job, is to go, oh, this sounds good. My dad is so cool. Look what he's doing with you. You sound very articulate. I'm gonna nod along. Well, listen to what she's saying.
We have more oil. I mean, infinite potential. And we're going to open markets. We're going to kick off the government from the oil sector. We are going to privatize all our industry. Venezuela has huge resources: oil, gas, minerals, land, technology. And as you said before, we have a strategic location, hours from the United States. So we're going to do this right. We know what we have to do. And American companies are in, super strategic position to invest.
I just want to be clear. She's talking about Venezuela, but she also could be She theoretically could be talking about Ukraine. She could be talking about Gaza, the new Gaza. She'd be talking about anywhere we want to go and have American companies make a crap load of money off of murdering people and stealing their resources. Keep going.
This country, Venezuela, is going to be the brightest opportunity for investment of American companies, of good people that are going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, making a lot of money. And that's
all about drugs, man. It's all about drugs. That's all it is. Nothing to do with that stuff, man. That's just a coincidence. That's just a coincidence.
That the Lindsey Graham issue where you have Lindsey Graham saying down to the last Ukrainian, we have no choice. We have to stop the next Hitler. But a buttload of money. So which is it? Which is it?
You know,
like Jay Scott says, it's a coincidence.
Yeah, it's a coincidence. That's all. That's all it is, man. And you know, when I hear the phrase Nobel Peace Prize, that tells me the recipient of that should be someone who's pushing for peace, which means not war. It means non-violent solutions to our problems, right? Is that not what peace is? So now we have a winner of the Nobel Peace Prize whose country is currently under attack from America and has absolutely no criticism about how America is now targeting and blowing up things that own to the country, is now greenlighting violence by our intelligence agencies against their government. She has nothing to say about the war that's being waged on her country. She has nothing to say about that. So she's not coming out and asking for America to strike Venezuela, but she's saying, hey guys, like, you do whatever you got to do. And as soon as you do it and you put me in power, I'll give over the keys to the car. I'll give you the keys to the whole house. Everything you want, it's all yours. And she's literally bragging, hey, if you're worried about, Saudi Arabia teaming up with Iran and Russia, not even a concern, because we got you. We got more oil over here. So, I'm glad that she's doing those interviews and that it's with Donald Trump Jr., because it's telling you like exactly where this is going. And, if you're in MAGA and you think that this is about drug trafficking, then I got a vaccine to sell you. Come on, guys, follow the money, follow the money, listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're saying, not what they're telling you. Listen to what they say to each other.
And if you guys have any family members out there, friends, colleagues, anyone who's not getting this, and you need some, you need some language to help with this, any statistical references. Well, this one's an easy one. Just screenshot this, guys. If you need to use it with your families, you tell them who's number one. Actually, ask them. It's actually a good technique. We learned this doing the show. Ask them, hey, who do you think is the number one largest reserve, has the largest reserve of crude oil in the planet? Who do you think that is? Think it's Saudi Arabia? Think it's Canada, Iran? Where do you think it is? Do you think it's Russia? Do you think who's got that? Oh, it's Venezuela. But as Jay Scott said, just a coincidence, right? Right.
And really quick, we have AI, right? Is AI always reliable? No. However, I asked AI a simple question. Is there any evidence that Venezuela is more involved in the drug trade than Mexico or Colombia? Because at first I gave my opinion just based off my experience and what I know about the world. And just so everyone knows, here's what AI has to say. Colombia is the dominant producer, accounting for the majority of the global cocaine supply. Mexico produces negligible amounts of cocaine, but is a major trafficker of it and is arguably the largest source of other drugs such as heroin, meth, and fentanyl, but it also does some cocaine processing. And then about Venezuela, it says Venezuela has emerged as a very minor producer since the 2010s. However, this is considered a drop in the ocean relative to Colombia when you look at how many actual drugs are produced there. So if it was about drugs, the focus would not be on Venezuela. It would be on the people producing it and the people getting it into the country. those would be like the focuses of the drug war. So just look at the numbers, guys. Don't take our word for it. Use your own common sense and look at the numbers.
Yeah, 100%. And if you guys just need one more reminder, we'll leave this segment. One more reminder from an actual general, Laura Richardson, who's going to tell us exactly what minerals and resources are available to us. And as she explains, it's called the Lithium Triangle. It's Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, and it's Venezuela, not just for the oil, but for the gold.
And the fact that she's in a military uniform as she's saying this, makes it even worse.
Pay attention if you haven't seen this clip yet. And remember it, if you need to cite it, if you need to have a little debate with a friend, family member, or colleague, this is General Laura Richardson. She'll tell you exactly what the plan is. Here you go. And by the way, it doesn't matter if it's Trump or Biden or Obama or Bush or Kamala. It don't make a damn difference. This is the plan regardless.
Talk to my number two adversary in the region, Russia. I mean, I've got, of course, the countries, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua with Russia relationships. But why this region matters, with all of its rich resources and rare earth elements. You've got the lithium triangle, which is needed for technology today. 60% of the world's lithium is in the lithium triangle: Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. You just have the largest oil reserves, light sweet crude, discovered off of Guyana over a year ago. You have Venezuela's resources as well, with oil, copper, gold. We have the Amazon, lungs of the world. We have the 31% of the world's fresh water in this region too. I mean, it's just off the charts. We have a lot to do. This region matters. It has a lot to do with national security, and we need to step up our game.
We need to step up our thief game. We have a lot to do, guys. We got a lot to steal, a lot to plot, a lot of murder to take place, and then a lot of money to be made. That's what we have, and that's our national security is the bottom line. And that's a function, not a dysfunction of capitalism. That's a function of it, is imperialism. That's what makes it go. Period. End of story. We've done enough work on this, Jay. We're not guessing about it. This is how the function of the thing we're in right now works. You can talk all day about communism, this and that, and that's fine. Have those conversations. But this is the thing we're living in right now. And this is why we have to do this segment, World War III Watch, because we're playing with fire. Every single time we're trying to make more profit for the oligarchs. And that's what it is.
And if I could add one thing to that, I would argue it's more crony capitalism, because I do think that there are, capitalism isn't by definition bad, and it has, its place in a mixed economy. I think some capitalist policies are good and some socialist policies are good, depending on what you're talking about. But what we have in America isn't really like actual capitalism. What we have in America is definitely crony capitalism that supports monopolies and cartels of people who are buying up our government. So, yeah.
Yeah. And we could talk about what to label, but if we're going to take, and I agree with this part, Jay, if we're going to take the best parts of capitalism and the best parts of socialism and you merge it together, kind of think we need a new name, kind of think we need to press the reset and start something new. That's where I'm at. I'm just saying.
I think Andrew Yang had it, because, you can't, Americans in general will not accept anything that is like called or related to socialism or communism, because we've been so brainwashed against it. But what Andrew Yang argues for is human-centered capitalism. I like that phrase. I think maybe we should think more about that, and using another metric other than GDP and profits, like human happiness, homelessness, starvation, the child poverty rate. Maybe we should use these things as a measure of success rather than what capitalism does now, which is simply how much your profits going up. When profits are going up, that means we're all doing good if profits are going up. So I think human-centered capitalism could be a phrase we could look into. I don't know.
Or we could just completely do a new ism. How about just off the top of my head? How about peopleism? I'm just saying it because we have another battle to fight, and that's against AI and the robot, T2 crap. So everything we do needs to become a populist peopleism method. That's what we need to do. I don't care about communism and socialism and capitalism anymore. We're in a new time. It's time to hit the reset button and say everything we do is going to be for the people, and that means we're anti-oligarch. Call it what you want. Deep state, for those of you who still, for your 10D chessers, deep state, oligarch, Zionist, whatever you want to put in that category. AI and the robot, age, whatever we're fighting. I don't care. Hell, throw in the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park if you want to as well. Peopleism. Let's try peopleism. See how that goes. It's better than what we got now.
Let's do it. I'm a peopleist. I'm a very proud peopleist.
Peopleist. I love it. Well, we can start working on the functionality of that too.
Yeah.
That moves into our next story. Yeah, because we're done with World War III watch now. Moves into, speaking of people, Jay, we do have some third-party action, some third-party announcements, specifically with We the People Party, which, Jay, you have been actively working with, and I have definitely have had my foot in the door. And so I can tell you from my vantage point, there's some good things happening right now. There's some very interesting, to say the least, very interesting things happening that I don't think we've seen yet in our lifetimes in another third-party movement thus far. So why don't you give the viewers a little bit of an update? And I do want to get to the Larry Sharpe story as well, or take it from here, Jay, and we'll walk the viewers through it. But yeah, We the People Party. Jay Scott, let us know what's going on.
Sure. So if this is your first time hearing about the We the People Party, what you need, the main thing I want you to take away from this segment is the value proposition that the We the People Party presents to you as a voter. The situation we have now is the DNC and the RNC are run pretty much by executive committees and wealthy boards who control the policies that members in the party are able to push. Because if members of the party go against what the donors want, then they'll be blackballed by the party. Say, for example, Joe Biden, who promised during his 2020 campaign that he was going to raise the minimum wage as soon as he got into power, no questions asked. Then he won the presidency, he won the House, he won the Senate, he had the ability to do it, and then didn't do it because he, quote unquote, blamed the parliamentarian. Well, the real reason he didn't do it is because of the centralization of power that's in the Democrat and Republican Party, and honestly, every other third party that I can think of. And what the We the People Party has done has prioritized three values to unify all parts of the political spectrum. Those values are being anti-war, being anti-corruption, and being in favor of decentralization. So what does that mean, being in favor of decentralization? That's that phenomena I mentioned just now about how party works in every other party is the centralization of power with a few people. The way the We the People Party works is the same executive authority that I mentioned that's right now reserved for these committees and boards is distributed to voters within the We the People Party. So I consider myself someone who holds views from both sides of the aisle, but I do lean more to the left, for sure. I'm in favor of Medicare for all. I want a higher minimum wage. I think taxes should be progressive. So for the most part, you could probably consider me as someone on the left. I think that everyone in New York needs to support the libertarian candidate named Larry Sharpe, who's running in the We the People Party because of the executive power that you would have over him if he was to win the office. And I do think that the duopoly has done so much damage. And right now people have this image in their heads that there's nothing we can do to fight back against them. I think the power of someone like that winning, would be amazing for the country, because it would really make, the independent vibe real, in the country. And, even if he doesn't win, if he gets, a good percentage of the votes, it's going to be huge for the momentum, of third parties in the country. So say, for example, I just mentioned that he's libertarian, right? So there are policies he has, which I vehemently disagree with him on. I think he has mentioned that he thinks private prisons could be a good, good way to fix some of our, prison issues in the country. I completely disagree with that. I think that's insane. However, what I'm focusing on is the parts of his policies that I agree with, and I'm also looking at the big picture. Now, if you were to take a look at his platform, I don't think, any part of the political aisle you're on. One of his, ways for dealing with, say, the homelessness and mental health crisis in New York is establishing an easier place for homeless people and to get help and mental health assistance. And the way he's doing that is called it's essentially a program where he's putting an extra car at the end of each subway train that is going to have resources for homeless people and people with mental health issues. So rather than them congregating on the other parts of the train and causing trouble, they're able to go to this car to get help without committing themselves to an institution, because that is actually one of the issues in the homelessness community. They don't want to be committed into these institutions where they're being forced to take drugs and all this other stuff. By drugs, I mean corrective medications. Now, outside of that, Larry also advocates for the full legalization of cannabis. He also advocates for for hemp being used as a solution to our microplastic problems, which are distributed throughout our entire environment. He recognizes that a lot of the plastics that are, coming into our bodies and being distributed everywhere could be replaced by 100% biodegradable hemp if we actually made an effort to do it. So no matter where you are on the political spectrum, you can agree that's a good thing. And he also wants to remove the cap that New York State has on suing pollution manufacturers for damages. That means you could destroy the entire state of New York and make billions of dollars doing it, but your fines would be limited to the cap that New York State has right now. So he wants to make it easier to actually hold these polluters accountable. And, of course, he wants to take the money that's being given to these national contractors and these corrupt entities that have been reinforcing the corruption in New York State and distribute that money and those contracts to small and medium-sized businesses that are fully based there in New York, so he can help get the circular economy going in New York. So no matter what side of the political spectrum you fall on, there's plenty of good inside of his campaign that we can all agree on. So the current political conversation is, okay, where do we disagree? The moment you meet someone who's supposedly on the other side, a lot of the conversation just revolves around, well, where do we disagree? And let's spend all of our energy fighting over the places we disagree, rather than talking about how to make progress on the areas we agree. So what the We the People Party does is it gives voters in the party the ability to recall candidates and kick them out the party if they betray their promises that they made to the people. The same way the RNC and DNC weaponizes their power as the party against the people, the We the People Party can weaponize that power against politicians who are betraying them. In addition to that, as soon as you join the party, you have the ability to select your top 5 issues at the local level, the state level, and the national level. So what that means is anybody who's running for a position at any of these levels has to pledge to fight for at least 3 of the issues that the voters in that constituency have listed as their top 5 issues. So we've literally built uniting around common ground into our party's bylaws. So that's what makes the value proposition of the We the People Party different from literally every other third party in existence. And I personally believe that it is the way forward. And we accept everyone from all over the political aisle. If you believe in those 3 things, being against corruption, being against war, and while recognizing the benefits of decentralization, then we have a home for you over here in the We the People Party.
All right, well, let's see, because this is a significant moment that somebody that has the recognizability, that has the relationship already with the voter and already with the media too. This is important. This is an important part that Larry Sharpe would announce this and get to the point where he is actually comfortable with what the party represents, and that he can represent it in the best honest way possible. Let's hear a little, because I got the clip you sent me. I want to hear how he's presenting this, because we assure you it's going to be more than just he got the interview on Kim Iverson. He's been on a bunch of spaces. He's got hopefully he can get on some other big podcasts and opportunities for these big interviews and representing exactly what you're talking about, Jay. But let's hear this one. And so people aren't familiar with Larry Sharpe, let's hear where he's at with this campaign. And my big question is why? How do we get to the point where he's saying, yes, this is the vehicle I'm going to use for my next election? Okay, so we have this. Let me get this queued up.
I'm talking real impact. I'm talking getting in the debates. I'm talking being on that front line. I'm talking moving New York State. You might go, Larry, I don't live in New York State. Why the hell do I care? Because everything that happens in my broken state is coming to you. You can like it. You can not like it. It's coming. If you live in Utah, it's coming slower, maybe 10, 20 years. You live in New Jersey, it's tomorrow. But it's coming. It doesn't matter. It's coming. The garbage that happens. So I am in the front line. I just told you my congressman is AOC. I'm not making that up. You can check it. It's true. Not just that. My assemblyman is Mamdani. I literally live in the belly of the beast. That's where I live, the belly of the beast. Someone's got to be in the front line. That person would be me. If we hold them here, we hold them everywhere. That's the issue. I'm just going to pause for a second and just throw in it. Belly of the beast. And he's good, because whoever you're clearly talking to people who think that AOC and Mamdani are some sort of radical lefties. They're not. They are establishment neocons, really. At this point, there's nothing else. That's the best we can say. They uphold the oligarchy and the war machine.
Controlled opposition.
Whatever you got to say to get the voters angry enough and say, yes, Larry is in the front line and he's doing it with We the People Party, and whatever you got to say to get their attention. We know on the homeless left, they ain't radical lefties. That's the problem. It's the establishment. Like you said, the controlled opposition, Mama Bear AOC, these are the people that do need to be held accountable. And what better way to do it than somebody who can bring somebody from the right on board that would never have followed, I don't know, a hypothetical Bernie Sanders running as an independent. Like this is the person you're going to follow. You're not going to follow Cornel West. You're not going to. So here we are. I just wanted to pause there about that verbiage he's using. And that also indicates the part you mentioned earlier, Jay, about we're not probably agreeing on a lot of everything, but this part we do agree on. And what better way what a great thing that he's using this new party to do that, the one that's going to hold him accountable as well. I'll let him finish up and then we'll get back to the conversation.
Hold them here. We hold them everywhere. And I would like us to hold them, because if we don't, we are in trouble. The country is in trouble. And the other problem is, you might go, but Larry, I'm concerned because, that we have to stop the Republicans, or we have to stop the Democrats, or whatever you might think. Having to stop them means that we focus only on not bad. We don't focus on good, right? We focus on not bad. We don't focus on good. And I need us to focus on something positive. We are having so many problems here. And the reason why I'm having so many problems is because we're not focusing on the future or anything working. We're focusing instead on just stopping the other guy. What happens? We fight the other guy and we don't get anything better. It's just slow decay.
So he's literally talking about the attack plan of We the People, which is policy-driven attack, not opponent-driven attack. It's you have your 3 to 5 issues, and we're going to hold you accountable if you do get elected. That's the part really draws me into this. And Jay, before we get more into the We the People as a party itself, can you tell me what your thoughts on Larry's where he's at as far as including publicly? I know he went on Kim Iverson and he's talked about We the People very minimally, but Is this something that's going to be in the forefront or kind of in the background? Does it really matter one way or the other? Does that part even matter to We the People, that the logo needs to be up on the behind him, or you know what I mean? Like I'm interested in that part. Can you dive into that?
Yeah, so that is a good question, and I'll be honest with you, I don't really have too much insight into how he's going to, run his campaign. What I can say is that, he is a We the People candidate, and he is going to be listed on the ballot as a We the People candidate as well as a Libertarian candidate.
Right.
So now I do know for sure that he has actually pledged to support We the People candidates, running across the country. So, when we have We the People candidates running in different parts, not just in New York, he's willing to, go over there and to talk about the benefits of the We the People party. So he's definitely embraced it. I definitely hope that he makes that like a central piece in his campaign, but I don't really have too much insight, into how that's working, because again, things are decentralized and I don't live in New York. I'm over here in Texas. So, that being said, a win for third parties, in my opinion, is a win for everybody, because we also need to break the mindset that it's either Democrat or Republican. Like we have to get more third party people in there. And again, I don't agree with, with a few different things. And to be honest, a large part of the economics that libertarians push for. However, I do agree that redirecting the money is a good thing to local communities. That's something he's pledged to do. I do agree that, we need to protect people's personal freedoms, which is something, he's pledged to do. He's very much in favor of, medical freedom, which is something the left used to care about, like once upon a time. So there's enough common ground where I believe we can focus on the good, in the parties, and there's enough common ground, to support him, especially considering the extra, power that you as a voter, are going to have over him because of the fact that he's a We the People candidate. So, I'd encourage people to honestly think about how the centralization of power has affected our political process, because right now, if a company wants to say ensure the minimum wage in Florida doesn't go up, or in California doesn't go up, all they have to do is bribe the people at the Republican Party or the Democratic Party in each of these states, like the executive committees, and then they will make sure that even if candidates run on the idea, that they're not able to implement it once they get into power, because they will mobilize party resources against them. So we have the exact same power in the We the People party to do that in favor of the people, instead of in favor of the corporations that are stealing all of our wealth right now. So that's what I encourage people to focus on, and to realize that, again, if you consider yourself a socialist, this is a party that you can join. And if you have people in your community who largely agree with that idea, you're going to be able to push the socialist policies that you care about in your community. So we're allowing people to, the party incentivizes people to actually get together and talk about, where we want the country to go, because in this party, the voters are deciding the direction of the party and the priorities of the party. Whereas, in most other places, it's, like those 3 to 5 people I mentioned at the state level. And lastly, just to put this in perspective, right? Sheriffs are necessary for martial law and lockdown enforcement. Right now, if a sheriff, wants to, if we had sheriffs in America who saw through all the scams and lies we were fed during the COVID pandemic, the lockdowns that they put on us would have been unenforceable. And, we are encouraging people at the We the People party to run for all of these smaller elections, and to remember the fact that on a good year, over 70% of the elections in the country are currently uncontested. That means if you're in a Democratic state, The Republicans will run against you on the big name positions, but on most of the smaller positions, they don't even put up opposition. And they won't really allow people to run because they do actually have not an unspoken agreement with the Democrats not to step on each other's toes in non-battleground states. So and if you think about it, it's going to be extremely difficult for the establishment to fight against the We the People Party. Since it's decentralized, that means each different solution, each different community is going to have different strategies, different solutions, and different ideologies. If they want to design a campaign against us, they're going to need a unique campaign in literally every area like that we're running in. So they'll have to spend a lot more in investigating what people are doing over there. They'll have to spend a lot more in designing new campaigns for each one. Whereas if you want to run against the Greens and Libertarians, all you need is one strategy that you can implement in pretty much every state. So we make it a lot more difficult for the establishment to keep going with no resistance. And lastly, don't forget, every single third party faces legal challenges and gets sued in court and, gets demonized because the establishment knows that they are vulnerable. And that's why they sued RFK. That's why they sued the Greens. That's why they sue the Libertarians all the time, because they are scared. And they do realize that if enough people get behind it and they're not able to kick us off the ballot, that their power is under threat. So, even if things seem dark and hopeless right now, there is hope. And the evidence of that is how the establishment spends their money.
Jay Scott, thank you so much for your contribution today and ongoing with the homeless left and keeping the positive element alive, especially with action, because we're not just talking here, we're doing the action. It's boots on the ground. It's go to the story. Quick Pasta taught us when possible, you go to the story. In your case, Jay, I'd say I go one step further. I'd say you're actually on the ground making stuff happen, not just reporting on it. So we're doing everything we can, showing up to the protest, doing our investigation. We do our investigation here every day, look into it, go down the rabbit holes, but action on the ground, boots on the ground, that's what it's about. And I do see the optimism coming through, and we need it. We can't just be a bunch of nihilists and pessimists sitting around saying it's all done, it's over, everybody's captured. What else can we do? No, there is something else we can do. And you really spelled it out there for us. And I would suggest everybody who just is hearing about We the People's Party for the first time, go check it out right now. The website, I didn't write it down. Just tell us real quick so we can get that.
Yeah, it's WTPnational.com. That's WeThePeopleNational.com. So WTPnational.com. Real easy to remember. And we want people to run all over the country, and we need party leaders all over the country. If you don't want to run for political office, but you want to make a difference, you can be a chair, you can be a treasurer, you can be a secretary, you can get a position within the party itself. We need volunteers all across the country right now, and we don't need a gigantic amount of money to make a difference, because in a lot of rural areas, a lot of these smaller communities and smaller elections are decided by a couple hundred votes. So there is a pathway to winning. There is a pathway to making a difference. And, we cannot just only focus on the bad that's happening. We have to focus on how we can build something better. And I think decentralization, while uniting around the common ground, is a strategy that we all seriously have to consider, especially, for us over here on the left, because, right now, honestly, the momentum is in favor of conservatives, in the country right now. So it's highly unlikely, in my opinion, that a party that comes out and says it is strictly socialist, is going to be catapulted onto the national stage at this moment. So, if that's how you and your people feel in the community, then you guys can implement the socialist policies you care about in your communities while still uniting around common ground with people on the other end of the political spectrum. So let's find the common ground, focus on that, we'll look at the data, and we'll figure out the differences later.
Awesome. Jay Scott, everyone. thanks again for your contribution and always thoughtful commentary and discussion, and keep up the hard work with We the People's Party.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks for having me on as always. I'll be back soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay.
Later.
Jay Scott, everybody. Yeah, this is it takes a village, it takes a team, it takes a community, and we are a community. I want to remind you guys, we are a community here. We're not a tribe. So if you're having a hard time with the semantics, with the language, let me explain the difference real quick. A community is where we open the doors for anybody who has the same kind of feeling wherever you're coming from. You don't actually have to check a box or a list of check boxes to get in the door. That's not how it works here at the Homeless Left. Anybody who's feeling the sentiment wherever you're coming from is valid. We don't care where you're coming from, where you feel homeless from. You could feel homeless from the up, from the down, from the all around, upside down. It doesn't matter. Let's all be homeless together in this community of critical thinkers. That's the key. You can't be a critical thinker if you're part of a tribe. If you have your tribal glasses on, when you look at the news and you look at the happenings, you're not going to be able to think about the entire world outside of those lenses. Therefore, you can't have an honest discussion. You might mean well. You don't necessarily mean bad. There's plenty of people that mean well, but if you wake up in the morning and you have your tribal goggles on, you're not going to see the whole story. So it's okay. It's a process sometimes, taking them off little by little. But here we are. When you're ready, join us here in this community, and you're welcome to come and go as you please. You're not signing up to be part of a club or a tribe. It's just a community of thinkers, and that's it. Okay. With that said, we have seen you guys' comments and your engagement on Rumble, on YouTube. We are going to get to your stuff in just a moment, because we will be bringing Leslie in here. What I'm going to do first before talking back is I want to cover the Kaiser story. So let's do that, because I don't know if you guys heard about the strike that started this week. It's a pretty big deal. It's a national strike. It's a worker strike. We went out there for ourselves on the ground to check it out. It's going on right now, right here, but all around the country. Kaiser workers are striking right now. Let's look at some of the coverage at the main headquarters, the home base of Kaiser, which is right here in LA. Leslie and I were there. We were out there covering it yesterday it was Tuesday was day one of the strike. Let's see some of the local coverage first, and then I'll bring in Leslie to talk about it. Here's the local coverage coming to you from Kaiser on Sunset. Here you go.
Tens of thousands of Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers are on strike this morning. The walkout is affecting more than 500 hospitals and clinics. The union says this is the biggest strike in 50 years. KTLA's Jacqueline Sarkeesian is live in East Hollywood. Jacqueline, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yes, so we're expecting about 31,000 employees within the Kaiser healthcare system in California and Hawaii hitting the picket lines today, the first of a 5-day strike. You guys can see there is a lot of people out here. Rain or shine, they are here, and I think it's a testament to how serious they are in terms of what they want and what they are demanding within Kaiser. I'm going to bring in a registered nurse in the emergency room. He's been working at Kaiser for decades. This is Hector. Just talk to us briefly about what your conditions have been like so far, I guess, and as to why you're out here this morning.
Well, we're here for our patients. We want better staffing. We want safer staffing, because it's workplace safety. It's a big part of our staffing. I mean, so we can take care of patients better.
Talk about the burnout you've been experiencing here. I know that's one of the things you guys are fed up with.
Ever since COVID, there's been a lot of burnout. And ever since then, 4 years ago, we've been fighting for better staffing from Kaiser, and it's fallen on silent ears.
And obviously, I mean, the weather is not ideal for being outside for 5 days straight, but I think it's a testament to how serious you guys are.
Like you said, we're healthcare professionals. We're here for our patients. And when you have over 30,000 healthcare professionals, probably the largest strike in the United States, that's a testament as to what we're fighting for. And, we're serious about patient care.
Hector, thank you so much. Kaiser did release a statement saying that this strike is disruptive, unnecessary. They've been trying to bargain with the union since May, but obviously the union is not going for what they have presented to all of these thousands of workers. We do know about 500 facilities are going to be on strike. Employees within 500 facilities in California and Hawaii are going on strike today for the next 5 days. Reporting live from East Hollywood, Jacqueline Sarkeesian, KTLA 5 News.
This is going on for 5 days. We're in the middle of it. And like I told you guys, we were right there on day one. This was on Tuesday. Let's go ahead and bring Nurse Leslie in right now. And let's have a little talk about this. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and give me a second here. Okay. I see you're on here. I'm about to put the picture on. Okay, here we go. Nurse Leslie, there you are. Welcome back to Homeless Left.
Hi, can you hear me well?
Oh, yes. Got you good. Got you good.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
One thing, going out there with you and seeing it for myself, and you guys saw the rain. I mean, it was pouring. It's crazy pouring. And who knows how many people show up to these type of things when it's pouring down on you, especially on day one. What a way to start. But yes, there were a lot of people there. And like they said in the clip there's 500 of these going on around the country. And what, as the person was being interviewed, and I know you probably have some insight on this as well. I know you have some insight on this, but generally speaking, what I see is people, they think that every time we see a worker strike, they get skeptical and they go, oh, it's just, you just want more money. But no, how can we get this message across? This isn't about paychecks. This is about access to resources and help and numbers of staff. What is that seems to be what I'm picking up on. Is that pretty much been the gist of it?
Oh, of course. And as you know, I think everybody knows, nurses, we do get paid well. It is a very difficult career. We go to school a lot. We're very educated. We're highly skilled people. So we do get paid well all across the country. It's a well-paying job, but we're not just paying for the wages. We recognize that this job does pay well, but we're actually fighting for our patients and their safety and our safety. We are kind of tired of feeling like we don't have the backup from our hospital, our administration, and the people that are making tens of hundreds of more money than we are. So it's not about the money. It is about safe patient care. And these patients that are paying into Kaiser and Medicare and Medi-Cal, these people deserve safe care. And so they did not agree to what my union, they're in the bargaining table very often for the last couple of months, if not year. I don't really know how all that stuff works, so don't ask me questions about that. But there hasn't been a good contract for my union to sign. Is that me?
That or you. This is us on Tuesday. Yeah.
Rain or shine, we were there. So we're fighting for our patients and their safety and our safety, because if we don't have safe nurses and happy nurses, if we don't feel good with our jobs, then we can't provide the best care. So we're doing this for your fathers, your mothers, your family members, for the people that you love. This is for them too. So this is to protect patient care, for fair contracts, for respect of our patients, their families, and ourselves. To have a voice, that's me again, rain or shine, to hold this corporation accountable, and for the future of healthcare of our patients, their families, anyone who's interested in, paying into Kaiser. We're doing this for ourselves, for our children, for whoever wants to be a nurse in the future. We're fighting for everyone collectively, not just us, the nurses. We're fighting for everyone, Matt. And yes, this is across, I think, over 500 places in California and Oregon and Hawaii, everywhere. So this is a fight for all of us.
And it's pretty much who's going to cave first. And it sounds like you guys certainly have the backing, and the union seems like it's making some good choices as far as organizing you guys. I have to say, just as somebody in the union in SAG, and I saw how you guys know we've covered the SAG and WGA strike. I don't think we were anywhere near as well organized as you guys are. I have to say that. And this is sad. This is like the capital of entertainment, or it was. I guess it's now the former capital of entertainment, Hollywood. And I don't feel like, I mean, we have a lot of members. Don't get me wrong. This is not a numbers issue. We got a ton of SAG members and WGA members, but but understanding what the demands were and what the long game was. When I talked to people out there, Leslie, I got the sense that people, especially the leaders of the union, understood what the demands were and what the timeline looked like, and understand the psychology of those CEOs and shareholders, and know what actual game's being played here and what it really looks like. It doesn't look like theater to me. I felt like when we were out very nearby. By the way, that is right up the street from Netflix, where we were years ago. We were right on like 2 blocks away from there. We were standing there. You were helping us cover the SAG strike right in front of Netflix.
Absolutely.
That was also the home base right on Sunset Boulevard, where they said this is the center. This is the centerpiece of the strikes, which were going on everywhere in every studio, Disney, Warner Brothers, all of them. But here we were, not fully understanding what the plan was, and we were there. It was like month after month, and we were getting emails that seemed very discombobulated, very unsure of what we were. And then we had a lot of performances, right? You had these. Our union leader. I mean, these are actors, right? They were performative, crying about, oh, we're gonna tell them this. And you guys seems pretty well together, and is what gives me a hope here. Let's look at one of the leaders. Tell us about because I did get this. We had a little walk-in chat here, so I'm gonna play a little of this. This is your friend. I didn't label his position correctly. Could you tell us? He's going to tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, his name is Terry.
Terry,
yes. Yeah, he's been a nurse for a very long time, and he's now a nurse case manager or nurse care coordinator. So he and I are part of the specialty care nurses of Southern California, and he is a union steward.
All right.
Well, sorry, not stewardess.
No. Listen, and we'll hear what Terry has to say as we were walking and doing striking together. Here we go.
I mean, a lot of our patients don't even get any sort of appointments. A lot of our PAs, nurse practitioners, and providers are overworked. And the nurses are also overworked too, both in the inpatient and the outpatient setting. Meanwhile, Kaiser had their, $60 to $64 billion in reserves. And they don't even want to meet us halfway. They don't. Not at all.
We're understaffed and overworked.
Absolutely, 100%.
The inpatient nurses, my God.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So was this understood that it was going to get to today's day to start the strike, or was there an idea that Kaiser was going to ultimately cave because they can't really do without you guys, or was this kind of part of the plan, or how did?
Well, I mean, as much as possible, we were trying to avoid going on strike until virtually they just kind of laughed in our faces in terms of our proposal. So we didn't really have a choice.
Yeah. So well, we saw some pictures of them basically bringing in these outside nurses. They're like they kind of took up the Hilton, and they're here to get basically.
Yeah.
So the investment they're making right now seems like it's more in outside staffing than they would just say yes to your demands. How can that possibly play out well for them, or are they only looking like they're looking at the short term right now, not seeing the long term consequences?
I mean, that's what we don't understand. I mean, they're more than willing to get all these travel nurses or scabs getting paid $10,000 to $13,000 a week. Meanwhile, $64 billion in reserve, and our patients can't even get the care that they need.
Matt, it's important to keep these mansions and Rolls Royce as the people in higher places in the corporation. So.
Well, yeah, and we see this is the same problem. Anytime you workers are forced to go on the street and fight for their rights, it's the same greed, the same. We know how these CEOs and shareholders work. They function the same way. It's always profit over people model. But again, the distinction here is, it seems to me, Leslie, it seems like you got Kaiser in a position where they're forced to have to overspend well beyond if they just did the contract. And so you guys heard the picture I was referring to. We saw this. This is what the Hilton looked like on Tuesday. All that luggage in the lobby of the Hilton. All that luggage goes to traveling nurses who have been called in to fill in the gaps for you guys. And they're paying them there's hundreds of the money must be off the chart as far as room and board and travel and day-to-day pays, whatever their salary is at the level where there's no way this is sustainable. I guess that's my point. There's no way this is sustainable for Kaiser. So you got them in a position where at some point they're going to have to cave. And that's why I think my projection is that this will be over in 5 days. That's my guess. That's my optimistic take. But again, compared to the one we were just at a couple years ago, right down the street, Leslie, SAG and WJ didn't have anything to kind of force their hand on at all. And that's why ours dragged out for months and months. So I definitely see that difference. You tend to think this is moving in that direction, that you would see this kind of ending in the next 5 days, or do you think there might be another part to this?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, we're very, very organized. We're very strong. UNAC is extremely powerful. It's very strong. It's no wonder why I pay so much money to my union. So we're very, very strong. We put in our 10-day notice. I didn't think it was going to happen. Nobody, I want to make this very clear, Matt. Nobody wants to go on a strike.
Yeah.
It is the last resort. We do not want to do it. We hate leaving the patients for people who are, I'm sure there are wonderful nurses out there, but they don't know the Kaiser system. They don't know how the hospital runs. I'm sure they're having a really hard time. We didn't want to do this. This was the last thing on our mind, but we had to do it because of corporate greed. So this is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's day 3 of the strike. We're hoping that by day 5, when they sit down and start bargaining again, something happens, and we all hope to go back to work on Monday and that both sides are happy. So do I see the strike continuing? Maybe. I'm not sure right now, but it has to do with sitting down with them again. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
And then one more lesson for anybody who maybe you haven't participated in a strike, and that's fine if you've never been in a picket line. One thing we will tell you, being the fact that Leslie and I have both been in them with our own unions, but we've also covered other strikes and other workers that are fighting their CEOs and shareholders. One thing remains the same, and that is what Leslie, you just said. You hit it on the head. Nobody wants to do this. It's a play you have to make as a last resort. And I would urge everyone to look out. We always talk on the show about language that media uses, and we didn't see the local news do. I think the local news might be a little more honest in this area, but I can tell you this, and I haven't seen any coverage yet on CNN or MSNBC, but you might get some by the end of day 5. You might get some Fox News, MSNBC, CNN coverage, and if we get that, what they're going to do, and I'm telling you guys this in advance, here's what's going to happen. Fox, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, what they're going to do is they're going to invite the union leaders on the show, on their little segment, and it's going to present as if they want to get the side of the people. And that's the trick. They're not going to invite the CEOs and shareholders on the same show. They're certainly not going to put them in the same box, like next to each other for a debate. That'll never happen. So, okay, you might be wondering, Matt, why is that not giving the people a voice? Wouldn't that be a good thing to bring the union leader on? Well, in theory, yes, but here's the point. They bring on the union leaders so they can talk down to them and ask them this question. The question they always ask is, how do you, in a matter of words, they ask them, how do you sit with the fact that every day you're out here, your industry suffering? And especially in healthcare, that's a very easy gotcha. It's not a gotcha question. It's a setup question to put you in a position where the viewer thinks that it's the union and the workers that are making the patients suffer in this case in healthcare, which is not the case. It's the CEOs and shareholders who are making the patients suffer. So hopefully, if this happens in this case, they have the ability to articulate the correct answer to that question. So if I'm the union leader and I'm asked, how can you guys sit with the fact that every day you're out here, patients are suffering? How do you weigh that with your conscience or whatever? I would say, oh, I'm sorry. I think you might have mixed that question up with the next guest you're going to have on, which I'm assuming is the CEO and shareholder of the corporation. And you can ask them that question. How do you sleep at night with the fact that the patients are suffering? That's not a question for me, because that's not the reason that the patients are suffering for whatever reason. It's because of what they're doing. We're responding to it, and we're with the people, and we're with the patients. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you meant to ask that to the next guest. That's the correct answer to that, Leslie. So I just wanted to throw that in there for people to understand how this game works, and how you confuse the viewers about what striking is about and what it's about. So.
And I'll end with this one last thing too. I know this is kind of United States national thing, and we have audience from all over the world, but I saw a post on Facebook from Fox 11 News about thousands of people striking, and you see the comments from people that don't know what they're talking about, Matt. People that are not in healthcare, people, I guess there are people that are against unions. There are people that are against the working class. I don't understand it, but there are a string of comments about us that we're lazy or we're fighting for things we don't deserve. All we want is more money. We're greedy. There are so many mean people, weirdly enough, on Fox 11 News. So I'm just like, interesting that crowd has something to say against us. I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence, Matt. But
it's because they're programming their audience to think of these things the way they want them to think of it. So it's a technique. And I just gave one technique. It was an example, but that didn't just start today. They've been, controlling the thought behavior of their audiences for years and years. That's the point. So it gets you, there's trigger words, right? When you even say they're in the streets and they're, you already have planted the seed in the viewer that they're greedy. They just want more money. Why don't you just go work and do your job and stop complaining? So there's these things that they're pre-wired to think. And on the other side, on the Democrat side, you have people pre-wired to think that Democratic leaders are fighting for the workers. That's another con job. And the Democrat leaders never show up to these things until they're already won, or until they're lost, or until they need to sabotage it. And we see those cases, all three of those examples happen all the time. And I think that people don't see that's the job of the elected official, is to stop these things or ignore them, which has been done 1,000 times. You see Democrat leaders ignoring worker strikes, constantly seeing this. We see them, they ignore Medicare for all stuff. They ignore, you have Biden coming in and literally pulling the plug from the railroad strike. We saw that, like literally saying, we're going to pass a law that says you can't actually be out here anymore. Bye, gone. So people in power are in position to keep us apart, keep us confused, and destroy the worker. Both parties are equally guilty of being anti-worker. So we have to get on the ground ourselves. That's how it works, guys. So we're just trying to help tell you guys the full story. So it's unfortunate Fox News is putting that out there. Well, we're not. We're not surprised.
Well, power to the worker, power to us, power to the nurses, the pharmacists, everyone that's standing with us. They're protesting too. Striking. Jungle Jer, you guys rock on the picket line. Thank you, Jungle Jer. We appreciate that. Mad props. The emergency podcast, these are just the ones that are coming in right now because we're talking about that. The emergency podcast asks 31,000 healthcare workers. Did I hear that correctly? Yeah, actually, I heard it was 60,000, but I may be wrong. Maybe 60 or 50. If you heard 31,000 healthcare workers, that sounds, about the minimum. It is thousands of people. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. More comments about the strike, but that's power to the nurses. Thank you, Sherry. Oh, nice to see Sherry on here. Yeah. So we can start with some comments. Oh, and Wits as well. Hey, Sam. Anita Larimer from YouTube. Largest strike in 50 years. Power to the Kaiser healthcare workers. Thank you so much. Let me read.
Can I throw the intro in because I like it? Your intro.
Of course.
Let's do the intro. Okay. It's Talking Back, guys. And by the way, just so people know, they can write in right now. If you guys didn't realize, we are live. If we're live, if it's a replay, you can't, obviously you can't write it in. But for now, These are the I think I just want people to know this is talking. We're going to do Talking Back with Leslie right now. This is where you can find us at the Homeless Left on Rumble or X, at THL Presents on YouTube. And if you happen to find me on X or on Facebook, it's at Matt Weinglass. And you can write in now and we will get your comment up. If at all possible, we'll get your comment up. So let's go ahead and we've started some of them, Leslie, so we can go back and start with those. But let's go ahead and officially start Talking Back with Leslie. Here we go. Welcome to Talking Back. I know you love the song. That's why we got to play the song.
Great energy. I love it.
So today we've had Jay Scott on. We've been talking about war in Venezuela happening. We've been talking about the unfortunate, unfortunately not by accident, the botched Gaza peace deal. It was always the plan for it to fail and blame it on Hamas. We could be talking about that, as well as We the People third-party movement happening. We're not all doom and gloom here on the Homeless Left. We actually do have people looking for solutions, and that's why we know you guys tune in, because we're not just a bunch of nihilists sitting around saying everything sucks. So that's also on the table. We did some real fake news on the Israel AIPAC stuff. We talked about top censored news. Gavin Newsom up to his old crap again here in California, covering the strikes, covering the worker strike that Leslie and I have been out at, particularly for the nurses, for the healthcare workers. Right here on LA. That's going national. So we've had you guys tuning in on that. But I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Leslie right now. And we'll start with some comments from you guys. Oh, by the way, should I mention this? Can I mention this? We had a raid earlier. We had a due dissidence raid. And I think I totally missed it until like 30 minutes in. But we got the shout out to them anyways. But go ahead, Leslie, take it away.
Well, for some reason, StreamYard does not alert you of that. That's something that they don't show you. So sorry, guys. I noticed it, and I wrote a comment. Really awesome that they rated you. We have new subscribers. Really cool comments. So yeah, that was great.
This, you know what? I did end up finding it after the fact. This is it. I effing found it. Due Dissidence has rated the stream. It actually came up, and now I feel like a jerk because I didn't see this when it happened. But that was it. And we had their moderator, which we love. We love their mod, Bonzo Beans. Yo. Completely missed this. And they were here from Due Dissidence. A bunch of them were writing in, and I didn't even see it. Totally my bad, guys. Totally my bad. But hey, I'll pass it to you. You want to go to the, can you see the start comments on your end or no?
I think maybe. But yeah, let me read the Rumble rant from Ardeen Dubia.
Nice.
Thank you so much for the big $5. Thank you. We appreciate that. I don't know if you can. I don't know what time it was posted. I'm looking.
No, I got it.
Else.
I got it. This
from
one.
Ardeen.
This is Ardeen W. This time I have to copy and paste it. That one we know does not come up in StreamYard, but we did find it. Thank you so much, Ardeen W. I gotta get the name on here too. Yeah, we really appreciate it. Hey, guys, Rumble rants go to the front of the line. YouTube, by the way, on YouTube, it's called Super Chats. Those also go to the front of the line. Just so you know, FYI.
So let me read it because we're taking way too long. Ardeen, thank you so much again. What is the likelihood that Charlie Kirk knew he was a target, so they made this elaborate assassination to send him into hiding? How does every organization go against protocol without a coordinated effort?
There it is. I found it.
Yeah. So what's the likelihood that he knew he was a target? Which, well, I think he did know he was a target. So they made this elaborate plan and sent him into hiding. Huh? What do you think about that, Matt?
I looked a little into the he hit himself to go along with it. I don't think so. I do think that I think they rigged there was no autopsy. I do think that they didn't.
That was weird.
They bulldozed over the place. They literally put cement in. I can't even believe it. Like there was a whole crew
that was really weird. Like right away.
Yeah, there was a trapdoor situation. But his body was taken out. But then I don't think we ever saw the body again. So I'm in the camp of, and I'm open to hearing about the whole he got relocated somewhere. I'm open to it, but from what I'm seeing, there was a body, but then we didn't get any. It got rushed away, and there's no more. No. The coroner said Superman took a bullet, all that crap. And again, the crime scene was covered up immediately. All the footage confiscated. We know all that. So, but I'm open to it.
Okay, so let's not take so long like every week. Let's see from the comments that you started. I just want to acknowledge Vincent from YouTube, Zuzilla, as always, Free Palestine, Sherry, S. Kaladin Cat Blast, really cool. We can put that one up at 113. Kaladin Cat Blast, THL, I salute you. Thank you so much. Really nice. April 55 following that one. I love your channel. Hugs and kisses. Thanks for your work. Thanks for your work, Matt. You work really hard at this. You kind of do the work for a lot of people. So thank you.
Someone's got to do the work, right?
April also says this whole fiasco is a shit show. Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. Why? Oh, there we. Okay, that was the I love viewer. Oh yeah, that's April 55. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
April, is that you? Wow, pretty nice. Okay, Freedom 19 at 138. As long as humans believe they are more superior than other human beings, the chaos will persist.
Yeah. Thank you
cool
for that.
Cool picture too.
Yeah. Nice.
April 55. Israelis are psychopaths.
Oh,
I have to agree with that one.
I mean, well, hold on.
Hold on.
That's I don't know. My anti-Semite meter is going off here because when you say Israelis, because we know it's an ethno state, then we know you're talking about the people themselves, right? You're not talking about the corrupt government in place there, because it's a race. Just like when we say, if someone were to say Americans are psychopaths, we know that you're talking crap on white people, right? Because isn't that interesting? People make that correlation. It's really funny to me. That you can't say that the thing itself that's not race related, it's not religion related, it's the thing itself. But hey, go figure.
Let's see. Scrolling through more people. Julia and Mar, thank you for tuning in. Freedom 19. Oh, we already read that one. Anita Larimer. Let's see. Chatter X tuned in. Hey, Chatter X. Herb Green from Rumble. I think Herb Green, are you new to the homeless left? Are you here from DD? Really cool. Where's the next one? Let's see. You start some after that one, right?
Yeah. But you can put some others. Just tell me the timestamp. I'll put whatever you want.
Oh, another new viewer, Seven Sword Mary. No, it's okay. I'm just going through.
Okay.
Actually, there's just so many good comments that
it's there's a lot of good stuff.
That's why we read our teams first.
You guys are awesome, by the way.
Okay. Let me just go to really cool. So, Due Dissidents rated at 1230. Benzo Beans. Yo, Bill CR12 at 1233 here from DD. Very cool. Jokers for You at 1259. Right. That's a Civil War map too. At 102.
Yeah.
At 102 from Herb Green. How to be a sleeping ostrich. I saw more comments following that one.
Yeah, we know that was the Trump reference. Yeah.
Oops. Am I still on? I clicked something. Okay.
Oh.
At 109, Seven Sword Mary writes, Robinson never even set foot on that college campus. And there's proof of that, isn't
we can't prove he never did, but they're not showing us much of anything. I love the fact that people that think this is an open and shut case, they go, we know the shooter. It's like, you never showed us any picture of him with the gun aiming it at the thing ever. It never happened. And now we're questioning those fuzzy, grainy little stills of him walking through with it. That doesn't even look like the guy. It's like, what are you guys? They're not even doing a good job with this. And again, if there's nothing to hide, just show us him on the camp. Show us him changing the clothes. Show us him when he's taking the scope off. He said he took the scope off the thing. Hey, I got one. Show us when he's doing the texting with his lover. Show us that, because guess what? There's cameras all over that damn campus. Show us him getting in his car and driving 17 minutes to Dairy Queen. Show the shot of him driving right off the campus where you have to do that. and then you have to come back on the campus, change your clothes again. Show us that. Oh, they got nothing. They got nothing.
You know, I removed and I put the scope back onto my telescope, and it took me a little bit to align it and all that. It was
Yeah. But
and
did
I
you have
not put it on
time
backwards?
while you were doing that? Did you have time to text me all your father's political preference and
Didn't think of anything but
and text
putting
me
it
about
back on.
someone else that you noticed that was taking the fall for you and you wanted to and did you talk to me about your vehicle and where it was parked? And because I think that would have made sense, right? That if you had come out of something really bad, you'd want me to know everything and then follow it up at the very end with make sure you don't say anything that I just told you. Delete these texts. All that.
Had all the time in the world. 113 from Seventh Sword. Mary, why was the Provo FBI gutted 1 month before this assassination?
We should look into this one further. The Utah Provo FBI, the local FBI in Provo, they removed everyone right before this happened. I didn't know if it was 1 month. I thought it was actually just a couple weeks, but it could have been a month. But we haven't even looked. We need to do a little more deep dive on that part. I mean, that alone should be enough, right? That should be enough. Just that. Why would you do that? Why would you have to replace people that were already in place there locally with who took their place? Well, you brought in your own people. That's what happened. So that's interesting. That's so interesting that's not even the people don't even know that. But yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that. Seven Sword Mary, really appreciate it.
I think we already put this one up at 113. Kaladin Cat Bless, THL, I
Yes.
salute you. That's
Yes,
the one
thank
with
you.
the cute cat.
Yes,
Oh, is
thank
that your
you.
cat? Wits. Our friend Sam at 119. Trump is a Nazi. Sam, how's it going in the UK? I want to know everything. All right. Let's see.
Well, let's be clear. He is one of several Nazis. He's not the Nazi. He's not Hitler. He's a team. There's a team of Nazis. Some say Benjamin Netanyahu is a Nazi. I would definitely second that one for sure. As far as
It's not impossible. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's the same philosophy. The Zionism, Nazism is one and the same. Talking about a superior race. We got to do everything. We got to get rid of this particular people. Cleansing. It's because if they grow up and they're gonna want to kill us, so we got to kill them first. It's the same shit. It's the same shit. What's the damn difference?
At 125, Menimus, thanks for tuning in. We're not even in Trump's first year. That's true. Imagine what the hell he'll do in his last 6 months. Wow, maybe we won't even get to the end of his term without some big, beautiful bombs blowing up the world. Oh my goodness. That speech he did.
Very dark. Very dark.
Yeah. Thank you, Menimus.
Well, we won't even be able. You know what sucks? If that happens, we won't even be able to do a show and say, "Hey, Menimus, you were right."
If you're right, we'll tell you ahead of time.
We will award you the viewer of the year post-mortem for all of us. I don't even know how that would work, but oh god, that's dark. That's dark.
At 127, pulling the strings. Funny how words like treason and embezzlement don't get mentioned a lot these days. That is true, right, Matt? Especially as we all know it's going on in front of our eyes. I have seen the word treason in the last few days actually been mentioned on socials. Thank you for your comment, pulling the strings. Thanks for tuning in. At 129, math is... How do I say that?
Math is Swiss.
Oh, math is whiz. Oh.
Responding to Menimus.
Yeah. Responding to Menimus. I don't think he'll last 4 years. He's rapidly declining. His narcissism has taken over. His destructiveness is going to take him out. I think that sometimes.
That's not I don't think it's narcissism. His narcissism has been consistent the whole way. What's declining, and let's not. This sounds like a Biden critique. It's a lot different. Biden was actually his mental capacity. He was actually declining. Like you could see the little steps, and he didn't know. That's not what's happening with Trump. Is he's getting exhausted. He might crack under the mental pressure of how far he's gone into this corner. It's like this long game of chess that he still thinks he can win This is the people with the 10D chess thing. He's not smarter than Netanyahu. He's not smarter than these people. He thinks he is. That's the narcissism. So I think what's declining is his ability to his longevity and playing this long game is declining. So I think it's exhaustion, but not this like losing capacity. It's not a Biden.
I mean, maybe not. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. His mental capacity, I suppose, or cognition. But I have noticed in the last few years, even months, he just looks a little different to me, coming from a healthcare nurse perspective.
Okay.
With like a little bit of swelling around his eyes, some edema. I don't know. There's just a little bits that I picked up, and I'm like, is he okay? Is there some like a little bit of heart failure? I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But from a medical standpoint,
okay.
I don't know. He seems to be under a lot of stress or pressure, I guess. Anyway, Chatter X, really cool to always have you tune in at 129. It doesn't matter who is elected. We always get John McCain.
Bomb, Iran. That's your John McCain. That's it. It's always John McCain in one form or another. I love that. I love trying. You got it. That was kind of funny. It's kind of funny when he said that John McCain wasn't a hero. He got caught. He was a POW during Nam. Yeah, that's true. He said, well, come on. A hero. Or he said he would have been I don't know what I forget the language, but it was a little dig on the fact that he got caught. He was in prison. He was in a Vietnamese prison. So he didn't really make it. I thought that was pretty whatever. People said, "Oh, how dare you do that?" I love it. How dare you do that to the U.S. military? Really? How dare you make a comment? Really? Not how dare you put the U.S. military in a position where they're dying for a foreign for effing Israel? Not that. The part about he made a mean joke. How dare you? It's like, okay.
All right. At 1:30 from Herb Green. Boom. There you have it. He's not in charge. I think Herb Green is referring to Donald.
Donald Trump telling us that Miriam Allison decides how the presidency works. Decides what's important. The Golan Heights is important. I'm the president. You don't just get to come in and meet with me. Oh, I guess you do. You have $60 billion in the bank. Whatever you want, I will do. You're in charge. And you put Israel first, so that means I put Israel first. Yeah, he's basically told us he's not in charge. So honestly, Leslie, this debate we've been having to have on the show so often about I wouldn't say, this person, that person. He's telling us. They give me money and then I do the thing they want me to do. That's business. All right.
At 129, Servilia, Trump is just your F-boy.
The next one up. He's just the next one up. Just the next one up.
Herb Green at 133, bankers own the earth, take it away from them, but leave them the ability to create money, and with a stroke of their pen, they will buy it all back.
Genius.
A quote from Sir Josiah Stamp, Bank of England.
Genius. You play both sides. Both sides. And then you can't lose. If you bet on both sides, you can't lose.
Let's see, at 136, same person, what he actually said was fascism, like corporatism, is the merger of state and corporate power with the state holding the power.
Yeah. And I think Max Blumenthal coined the term corporatism. Or I don't know if he coined it, but he started making it, he started using it during the end the mandate rallies. And I think it was great because that crowd wasn't necessarily understanding how fascism and all that works. They're very pro-capitalism, American exceptionalism, but they were out there, right? Do you remember the mandate and the mandates in LA? And Max got up and said, I want to educate you guys on corporatism and how that works. And it is the merger of state and corporate power. Boom. Done. Thanks. Thank you, Herb Green.
Yes, thank you. Let's see. I read some of these already.
Yeah.
At 142, pulling the strings, Israel also knows genocide can't be undone. Oh, I did read that one by myself earlier. Okay.
Pulling the strings. Thank you.
At 144, Chatter X, divide by religion, race, age, gender, party, etc. Distract by culture wars and conquer. Oh, The imperialist deep state strategy in a nutshell. Look at that. I'm gonna copy
Well,
and
luckily
save
Trump
that
is
one.
luckily Trump is taking on the deep state, so we won't have to worry about that anymore.
I know, right? Ha, yeah, right. More, you know what? Today there was a million awesome comments, and I can't read all of them. I see Airwaves was tuned in, Long Meadow as well, Malaka Tom, probably from DD. Really, really cool, intelligent, well written commentary today, Matt. Wow, I really wish I had 3 hours to go through all of these.
Yeah, we want to end with like one more here that maybe I missed. I mean, obviously there was a bunch that came in, but when
St.
we started,
David's too. Oh, St. David says, bless up Matt, Leslie, and chat. Thank you. Back at you.
oh wait, what time?
I'm looking at the chat from Rumble. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the newer ones.
Okay.
St. David's, yeah. So St. David's towards the end says, bless up Matt, Leslie, chat. May God bless Palestine, Yemen, and their people, the most courageous people in the world. Oh, really cool. Really nice. Thank you. Ardeen as well.
I'm gonna put this one up from YouTube. This is Anita Lariner. Thank you for tuning in. R.I.P. Diane Keaton died of pneumonia at 79. Many surprised at her quick demise. It was suddenly. It was died. She died suddenly. Do we know what it wasn't? Yeah, of course we know what it wasn't. Don't even suggest such things. Don't even suggest such awful things there, Anita. I'm not. You know what? This conversation is not safe for YouTube. But we will be back with another. We know what it's not. We're gonna wait till Tuesday on that one. We ran out of time on that one today, but we'll do a. Yeah. So, but we'll get to that. I do want to look more at Diane Keaton. But we certainly know what it's not. So thanks for pointing that out.
Yes, thank you. And I see Opossum King was tuned in. Really cool to have the same people and new people. Herb Green, thank you for your commentary, and Sam, of course, from the UK.
Oh, Sherry Wise. The Peace Prize is as fake as the Economics Prize, which actually is a fake Nobel Prize. Thanks for clarifying. For people who don't know that, that's the truth. Thank you, Sherry Wise.
Okay, and then Herb Green, I don't know if you're still on. Heartlands Media is where I saw you, Matt, first, I think. Meant to follow after that. Cool, Herb Green, welcome. Thank you very much. That was towards the end, Matt. He or she just corrected us. No, that was Sleeping Ostrich was referenced to fentanyl leaners.
Oh, the Sleeping Ostrich. Yes, I got that. Thanks for the correction. Let me grab that.
He says, why no blood on the bodyguards who carried Charlie to the escape SUV and not an ambulance? So best case scenario, unfortunately, all the blood came out within, I don't know how many seconds until they picked him up. Worst case or weird case would be, yeah, I do agree with you. Why wasn't there a trail of blood when this body was carried to the truck? Really weird. Yeah, just wanted to say that. I have seen this suspicion before.
Well, as Kash Patel tells us, that he's already solved the case. It was in record time, which is what people want, by the way. They want record time. They don't want accuracy. They want quickness.
Record time. And, go FBI.
Yeah, just that he's a minute man, babe. He's a minute man.
Yes. That was good. Oh my god.
And he's bragging about being a minute man. He's like, I get the job done. I get it done. Not about quality. It's about getting it done, baby. Woo.
Yeah.
High five.
High five. I see Fuflan also tuned in. Well, anyway, what else, Matt? Thank you. Thanks for having me on. This was really fun. And yeah, always a great conversation on Rumble as well as YouTube. We can't always say the things we want to say on YouTube. That's why we also use Rumble. But really awesome conversations today with you guys, with our friends and new people. Really cool to have you guys on the Homeless Left train.
Yeah.
And thank you for supporting me as your nurse, as a nurse friend that you have. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, and here's Sherry Wise. Power to the nurses.
Thank you, Sherry.
Power to the nurses. Hell yeah. There we go. Thank you, Leslie, again.
Thank you
for the conversation and being on the ground and doing it for the people, for the workers, and communicating with us here.
Absolutely.
On the Homeless
I will always be for the workers. If there's any strikes or protests for the workers, I will always be there. I will always support the worker, always. And me and you, we've been to 30 strikes or protests in the last 5 years? 40? I don't even know. I can't even keep count. For how many different causes?
Yeah.
Wow.
And by far the most dangerous one, by ones, plural, are anything with Free Palestine. Most dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
The chances of getting attacked verbally, physically, arrested. The physical attack can come from Zionists or police security. There's provocateurs that come in and they start stuff.
The Free Palestine ones.
We have seen it all, but make no mistake, every one of these is important. It's important to challenge power. And it's also important to learn about how these things work, because we can look for red flags when things get compromised or they get captured or they get infiltrated. And once that happens, then we have to know how to respond to that infiltration and not just have blinders on, which a lot of people have. So there we go.
Power to the people.
Power to the people. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. See you guys. See you next time. Nurse Leslie. I'm gonna tell Leslie to put a little RN in her title there. But she's way too humble for that. But she should, the little RN action. Oh, I forgot to put this up. Why didn't we remind people? Leslie's now on Twitter. We'll just throw this up in case you guys want to be first to follow before she starts doing posts. She might throw a post up, one or two of them. Where did it go? Here we go. You can follow Leslie on Twitter at Leslie Weinglass, and you can see where when she gets on there. Yeah, whatever. Who knows? Maybe none of us will be on Twitter anymore now that Netanyahu said it's the next strike after TikTok. The next one will be Twitter. That's the one to go. And we're already seeing the shadow banning, which effing sucks. I cannot stand seeing all of these Zionists in my feed I never saw before. And they're so on their top of they're so high on their horses. They keep mocking people in the Palestine movement. I keep seeing it. People like Clandestine, who I used to promote on this show. War Clandestine. All of a sudden, he's mocking, yelling, griping, screaming, punching down. And he has the nerve to say, if you don't like it, don't follow me. And I want to say, we're not following you, asshole. We're not following you. You're coming up in our feed because of the algorithm. You got elevated and the rest of us got taken down. We're not following you. You just keep showing up with your BS about Trump's about to save the world. Stop your whining, Antifa Palestine assholes. Stop punching down at us. And by the way, that goes for you too, Dr. Naomi Wolf, who used to be big. I assume you still believe in the medical freedom movement. All of a sudden, you're an expert on Hamas. All of a sudden, you're in my feed every effing moment of the day. I can't stand it. I do not follow you, Naomi Wolf, and you keep showing up. And this just started happening this week. What the hell is going on? I'm going to have to start blocking these people. I can't handle it. It's too much. Stop with your punching down. Stop attacking people. And stop pretending like you're part of the good guys all of a sudden. Those two particularly, because you used to challenge power, Dr. Naomi Wolf, War Clandestine. You used to challenge power, and now you're punching down at people. How to get that off my chest. Okay. I better stop now before I give myself loudest voice of the week, but it's not going to be me. We will end with that. Actually, I'm going to set up loudest voice. In the meantime, enjoy. And that's going to be our last segment today. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got a good loudest voice for you. We got a good one. We're going to come to it right now. I'm going to give you guys little small break. Got a funny little Kamala ad for you. Kamala's got a book tour going on. We were going to do a whole segment on it. I changed my mind. Not really worth a segment, but it's worth a little funny commercial. Watch this Kamala book ad commercial by this. It's actually well performed by this by her fake publicist, who's going to tell you how you sell these books, because there's an art to selling books from these politicians who have lost big elections. There's a whole art form to it, because that's how you make your real money, is the book tour. So watch this, and we'll be right back with the loudest voice of the week. This is the Homeless Left. I'm Matt Weinglass. Non-tribal approach to news.
When Kamala Harris asked me to be the ghostwriter on her new book about the 2024 election, I knew I couldn't turn her down. This was going to be a chance to tell her story in her own words. And of course, launder her image and make a ton of money, like a ton. The key to any great political memoir, what I like to call the ABCs. A, acknowledge there was a mistake. B, brush off your responsibility in the mistake. C, call out someone else for making the mistake worse. I am a loyal person. During all those months of growing panic, should I have told Joe to consider not running? Perhaps. So here we turn Kamala's lack of conviction into a positive. Anyone with half a brain could see that Biden was turning into silly putty, but she didn't say anything because of loyalty to her boss, which is exactly what people want in a Democratic politician. Kamala's advance for the book was reportedly in the neighborhood of $20 million, which is a pretty good consolation prize for losing the presidency to a fascist. I'm like, let's spend that money before he throws us in prison. No, it's fine. We're rich. We won't go to prison. A lot of people point to that infamous interview on The View that was the turning point that lost Kamala the election.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
And so we knew that when she went back on to promote the book that she would have to address it.
I didn't fully appreciate how much people wanted to know there was a difference between me and President Biden.
We actually knew that Biden's poll numbers were in the toilet and that voters desperately wanted us to break with him. But then his team reminded us that if we did that none of them would be able to get jobs again. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback on the TV appearances. People are loving this book tour so far.
To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear.
No, that's not what I said. It made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk.
It's a very simple concept. She didn't discriminate against Pete because of his sexuality. She didn't choose Pete because his sexuality was a liability. Big difference. Between you and me, I told Kamala we didn't really need the Buttigieg section in the book because it was another example of her appearing indecisive while also virtue signaling. And she was like, I need to appear like an ally. And I was like, I hear that. I feel that. Also, my commission check had cleared by that point, so I didn't really care anymore. What can I say? That's why people in the biz call me Clorox, because I'm so good at laundering. It's a brand of bleach and detergent. What else did they want her to do? Have a Palestinian speaker at the DNC? Support an arms embargo to Israel, the one demand of the uncommitted movement and the hundreds of thousands of voters they represented? She didn't have the power. Who had the power? I don't know, but it wasn't her. The big idea I want readers to come away with after this book is that the campaign just didn't have enough time. 107 days were, in the end, not long enough to accomplish the task of winning the presidency. It's the greatest excuse of all. That's why it's the title of the book.
All right. Shout out to Zedio for that cool commercial. We like the funny stuff. We got to laugh sometimes. We got to definitely laugh when possible, when we're not crying. But yeah, it is not hopeless, guys. We do have optimism here. And we're going to end the show with this segment, the loudest voice of the week. I think we're set up now. Okay. This is a tough one, but it's an important one. So, and then in the comments, we weren't able to get to everyone on comments, guys, on Talking Back, but we'll get some up on the outro. Of course, you guys can go back and watch anything that you missed we keep the lives up on Rumble. We never take the lives down. You can see all of our 140 shows. Wow, 140 shows are all up on Rumble. The segments are important. We upload the segments so you guys can share those out, particular topics that interest you. But more than that, you can actually share these with people that maybe you think might interest them. And they're in little, not clips, but these are thoughtful conversations. They can be anywhere from, 7-8 minutes up to 25 minutes. And then the interviews can sometimes go to 45-50 minutes, but whatever the case may be, you can share these out for whatever topic we're on that you think might get someone's attention in your life that maybe is starting to think outside the box, starting to think for themselves. And I think that's what we're doing here. So it's not just you guys watching us, it's you guys can activate others as well. We do the work. As Leslie said, we do the hard work. Someone has to. So we do the hard work. And you guys can do the work too. So we can do this together. We're all in this together. Okay. With that, let's go ahead and we'll end the week out strong with our loudest voice of the week. Here we go. It's the loudest voice of the week. We like to salute most of the time. Sometimes people expose themselves for being complete a-holes, but most of the time we want to salute integrity, being vocal when it takes courage, when it's inconvenient. Generally, whether a protest or a moment on a broadcast that goes out to millions of people, saying the thing that's hard to say and saying it at the right time. In this case, and this is a tough one. This is a tough one this week, but we wanted to cover this. It's kind of personal to us because we covered Greta Thunberg on the flotilla missions that she went on, and the most particularly the last one, which involved so many more people. It was the largest flotilla we've ever seen. We had the workers behind it, the labor movement in Spain, Italy, backing it up. We knew they were going to be taken. We knew what was going to happen. It was going to be bad. And it was really bad. And then we had reports. And it wasn't just her. It was all the people that they took. 140 something people were taken. And these are from like 46 different countries, 42 different vessels, or is it 42 countries, 46 vessels? And they took them, and they let some of them go early. Some of them they had to stay longer. Who's they? They is the IDF. They is Israel. Israel, and we know how how they treat prisoners, which they call prisoners, but they're hostages. They're people that haven't held stand trial. We know how these torture camps work, and we use the word torture. And so the reason that's important is that we have to get language right, but we have to double down when we know we're right and we're getting shamed about it. Now, I had a lot of people come to us and say, hey, you guys went a little too far with the Greta coverage. They told us, well, we don't know that she got tortured. We don't know that. And she didn't really say it. She didn't really talk about it. Well, actually, she did talk about it, but it wasn't the first thing she talked about. And there's something about the integrity, and we know her past. We know Greta's past being a tool of the establishment for environmental issues. We know her family connection. It actually goes back to Israel. We know all this. And it is enough to deflect. You know what? Dismiss her. She's captured. She was captured. What if she's not? What if she's got a little Charlie Kirk in her? What if, who knows? We don't know her personally. But I can tell you the integrity of having a loud voice sometimes looks a little different than being actually loud. Sometimes the thing you don't say makes it more powerful. The fact that when she got on camera and opened her mouth, she didn't really talk about what they did to her. We found out from other sources. She didn't talk about it because she had the humility and the integrity not to make it about her. And she did say that, and we covered that on the show. She said, this isn't about me and what they did to me. This is about the people of Gaza. This is about waking up the world. This is about actually doing something, activating something, the demands of the people on the ground, the supply chain that was being controlled by the workers. She knew that. That was a big deal. We didn't see that on the previous flotillas. We saw it on the last one. We saw the workers controlling supply chain to Israel said, we're going to the street. That's how organizing works. That aside, we used the word torture on the show. We said Greta Thunberg and her colleagues were tortured. And we got pushback for that. We got told, you're going too far. She's not saying it. Well, this is how we know that it actually did happen. It was verified by multiple sources, but then Greta later on, secondary, after the fact, decided to talk about it. And we're going to give Greta Thunberg loudest voice of the week. And it's a co-loudest voice because when she did talk about it, she didn't really want this to go out there. But it was going to go out there because people like Caitlin Johnstone put it out there. So I will double down now and say we had the report correct. It is accurate. And Caitlin Johnstone wrote it out. And her husband, you guys know Tim Foley, or I don't know if it's her husband or boyfriend, her partner, Tim Foley, is going to narrate the writings of Caitlin Johnstone, telling us quoting exactly what Greta Thunberg said out of her own mouth and what happened to her while she was being held hostage and tortured by Israel. Here we go.
Israel tortured and sexually humiliated Greta Thunberg. In an interview with Swedish paper Aftonbladet, Greta Thunberg has corroborated earlier eyewitness reports that she and her fellow Global Samud flotilla activists were subjected to monstrous abuses by Israeli officials after being abducted from their boats carrying aid for Palestinians in Gaza. Here are some machine-translated excerpts. They grab me, pull me to the ground, and throw an Israeli flag over me. They dragged me to the opposite side from where the others were sitting, and I had the flag around me the whole time. They hit and kicked me. They moved me very brutally to a corner that I was turned towards, a special place for a special lady, they said, and then they had learned Lilla Ora, little whore, and Hora Greta, whore Greta, in Swedish, which they then repeated all the time. In the corner where Greta was sitting, the police placed a flag. The flag was placed so that it would touch me. When it fluttered and touched me, they shouted, "Don't touch the flag," and kicked me in the side. After a while, my hands were tied with cable ties very tightly. A bunch of guards lined up to take selfies with me while I was sitting like that. Thunberg says of her fellow activists, they were thrown to the ground and beaten, but I could only see out of the corner of my eye because every time I lifted my head from the ground, I was kicked by the guards standing next to me. Greta was then taken into a building to be searched and undressed. The guards have no empathy or humanity. They keep taking selfies with me. There's a lot I don't remember. So much is happening at once. You're in shock, you're in pain, but you go into a state of trying to stay calm. Outside, she was forced to take off her clothes again, she says. It was mockery, rough handling, and everything was filmed. Everything they do is extremely violent. It was so hot, like 40 degrees. We begged the whole time, "Can we have water? Can we have water?" In the end, we screamed. The guards walked in front of the bars the whole time, laughing and holding up their water bottles. They threw the bottles with water in them into the trash cans in front of us. When people fainted, we banged on the cages and asked for a doctor. Then the guards came and said, "We are going to gas you." It was standard for them to say that. This shows that if Israel, with the whole world watching, can treat a well-known white person with a Swedish passport this way, just imagine what they do to Palestinians behind closed doors. Thunberg told Aftonbladet that the Swedish government greatly downplayed the abuse she and her fellow Samud Flotilla activists suffered, and wouldn't even bring them water. We were together and told them about the treatment we received, about the lack of food, water, about the abuse, the torture. We showed them the physical injuries we had, bruises and scratches. We gave them all our contact details. I gave them my father's number and the number of our contact in the organization. We were clear. Everything we say now must be released to the media. They didn't do anything. They just said, "Our job is to listen to you. We are here and you are entitled to consular support." We said over and over again, "We need water." And they saw the guards had water bottles. The embassy staff said, "We'll make a note of that." One of us, Vincent, said, "Next time we meet you, you must bring water." Then it took 2 days before the embassy staff showed up again. They didn't bring any water except for a small bottle of their own that was half empty. Vincent, who was in the worst shape, got to drink it. We kept asking the guards, "Can we have some water?" But they just walked around with their water bottles and didn't answer. I said, "Are you going to leave us like this? If you leave now, they will beat us up." But they just kept walking. When Aftonbladet compares emails sent by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to relatives with what the captives describe telling embassy staff, it becomes clear that the seriousness of the situation has been downplayed. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs describes the scene at the port, where Greta Thunberg was beaten for hours, as follows. She told us about harsh treatment and that she had been sitting on a hard surface for a long time. On Saturday, several media outlets published testimonies that Greta had been subjected to torture. Aftonbladet has spoken to 3 other members of the flotilla who largely confirm what Greta Thunberg says, and who have all experienced various types of abuse and humiliation. We have also spoken to relatives. Everyone is highly critical of how the Swedish embassy staff acted. Thunberg's statements are not just in alignment with eyewitnesses who said these things were done to her, but with statements from the Israeli government itself. Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir said last month that Samud activists must be treated as terrorists in order to create a clear deterrent from future flotilla activism. declaring that anyone who chooses to collaborate with Hamas and support terrorism will meet a firm and unyielding response from Israel. We will not allow individuals who support terrorism to live in comfort. They will face the full consequences of their actions. After the flotilla activists were abducted by the IDF, Ben-Gvir filmed himself taunting them and calling them terrorists. Israel, needless to say, has an extensively documented record of torturing and raping individuals who've been given the terrorist label by the regime.
And this is why I'm just pausing there. We're near the end of this anyways, but the history of, why don't we ever talk about that? I mean, we do, but why is that not part of a normal investigation? When we look at, isn't that what detectives are supposed to do? Detectives are supposed to look at history of violence, right? How many times did OJ call 911? How many times did Nicole call 911 on OJ before she turned up dead? You know what I mean? Like you look at track record. Track record is important. It's very important. Track record of perpetrator, not victim. Victim's track record is not important, nearly as important. Not nearly as important. But you're looking for the suspect. The suspect's track record is 100% important, and we seem to never be allowed to start from there, because that's when you're called a speculator or you're not doing good, honest work. You're a conspiracy theorist. All this stuff. Look at the track record. That's what we're saying, and that's why we started with this. What happened? Not just Greta. Let's let Tim finish this up here. Just like another couple seconds.
So what Thunberg is describing would be Israel doing what it said it was going to do in order to send a message and deter future efforts to feed starving Palestinians, perhaps singling out the most high-profile activist on the flotilla for special abuse in order to really drive the point home. Israel is so evil, it's actually hard to wrap your mind around it.
Yeah. Well said. Thanks for that, Caitlin Johnstone, Tim Foley reading. Always thoughtful words coming from Caitlin, Australian journalist, activist, anti-war, media person who doesn't go on camera really at all, but her words say so much. And by the way, the loudest voice of the week is about making that statement as loud as you can, even if it's not the volume or the words itself. But for Greta not to speak about this right away and not put this out there says so much. Her making this a secondary issue says so much. These are the conditions that she had. These are the conditions that all of them had. And unfortunately, you have a high profile person like Greta, and she gets all the attention. You can't give attention to all of them. But make no mistake, even if she was singled out and this happened to her, everybody else that was there also faced horrific circumstances, and we will call it torture because that's what it is. That's not how you treat people. That's not how you treat people that you call prisoners or whatever you want to call them. You're being detained. That's not how you treat people. You don't mock them, bully them, shame them, laugh at them, take selfies with them. We should know better. We know about Abu Ghraib back in Iraq. That was, everybody got so upset about that, which they should. But we need to double down when Israel does this over and over and over. And they put out their own selfies, and they put out, I'm surprised they haven't put these ones out yet. We might see them. We might see them soon. Or they were told to quit it because this would be the nail in the coffin for them. If we saw these disgusting pictures as described, if we saw these on the internet at this point, I mean, I don't know how anyone can defend this, but we're doubling down. We are holding firm. This happened. We got it right. And if you guys were questioning it, that's okay. We understand people's past, but make no mistake, what somebody once was doesn't make them who they are now. That might be a good takeaway from this. These people, as a friend of the show, Wyatt Reed reminds us, these people who were part of the establishment, who are part of Greta's game of being a mouthpiece for top-down agenda, they're all quiet. They haven't had a word to say. They haven't had a word to say. So, yes, I think you can change and evolve, and you can go off on your own. Charlie Kirk was in the process of doing that. We know to a degree, Tucker, Candace, they have gone off on their own. We know Candace was fired from Daily Wire. We know Tucker was fired from Fox. We know people can change. They can evolve. They can try and detach, and they can detach 100%. They can detach 50%. They can detach 95%. 5%, that doesn't count. That's just not a level of whatever. But you can be in process of detaching. It's something that it is possible. And we should root it on if we see signs of it. We should root it on. We stay skeptically optimistic, hopeful that they can detach. Because if one person can detach, if Greta in fact has detached and is on her own, if she can do it, maybe others can too. So let's root that on. Let's not shame people for their past if they're willing to change. And I think that's what's happening here. And Caitlin Johnson wasn't getting into that part. She just wanted us to know this happened and people need to know it. This happened and people need to know it. So this week, loudest voice with total humility goes to Greta Thunberg and Caitlin Johnstone, who got the message out to us. Okay. I think that does it for this week's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. We made it to the 4-hour mark again. Always these 4-hour shows with you guys. Always these 4-hour shows. I see some more comments coming in here on our YouTube. Number 6, I'm homeless and proud. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Oh, look, Wishigo says, Leslie, you do an amazing job. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Very, very cool. Thank you for that. It takes a village. It takes a village. I'll throw some more up at the end, guys. But thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with you guys next week with some more Homeless Left. I don't know who we're gonna have on. I don't know what we're doing yet. We'll figure it out. But enjoy your weekend. Otherwise, and yeah, guys, just remember the principles. The principles that we bring here is having principle, right? Have some principle. Have courage. Have conviction. Be consistent, right? And that's it. And be non-tribal. Get your tribal goggles off, put on your critical thinking skills. That's it. Go out in the world, have your conversations, have your debates, have your aha moments. Allow others to have aha moments as well, and keep on fighting for the people. Power to the people. We'll leave you with this. What do we got for you? Is this? Oh, if you guys missed it before, this is, I thought I would just throw this one up again. This is news. This is Newsom with his interesting comment. Interesting. If you guys missed that before, we'll let you see it again. And that'll be it. We'll throw up some comments at the end. So that's it, guys. Power to the people. Free Palestine. We'll see you next week. Take care.
The first to bring up AIPAC in years, which is interesting.
I will not vote for a candidate that takes $1 from AIPAC.
It's interesting. I mean, it's interesting. I haven't thought about AIPAC. And it's interesting. You're like the first to bring up AIPAC in years, which is interesting. Why did I say that? Not relevant to my day-to-day life.
Okay.
Which is just interesting.
Listen.
It's interesting you say that. JPAC perhaps more, but AIPAC less and less.
Okay. Fair enough.
Which is just interesting.
What's interesting about it?
That it's just interesting as you bring up AIPAC, that it hasn't been part of, I'm just reflecting quite openly and honestly, hasn't been part of the day-to-day.
Yeah. The only reason why I ask is because with that, what I'm talking about is lobbying in and of itself